Chapter 665. Every time a disciple passed the trial, they would give Jun Changshao some contribution points. Although the reward was not much, there were many disciples in the sect of all times. If they took turns to enter and pass the trial, they would get more than 10,000 contribution points. Not to mention Life and Death Secret Realm could be entered once every 3 months, which was equivalent to having a fixed income of contribution points. There was no need to rely on missions. Awesome. Super awesome. No, Jun Changshao said. The disciples who went in all broke through. Why didn't I get any experience points? The system said. Because the host didn't do anything. The rule of Life and Death Secret Realm was that if there was effort, there would be rewards. If the warriors who entered did not do anything, they would not get any experience points. All right. Jun Changshao was helpless. Qingyang. Let the disciples enter the Life and Death Secret Realm in batches. Remember, you must enter as a group and choose the easy mode. 50 inner disciples, all of whom were Martial King level, were almost exhausted. If the disciples with lower cultivation base chose the normal mode or higher, they would definitely enter. After receiving the order, Li Qingyang immediately acted. On the same day, thousands of disciples gathered at the entrance of the Life and Death Secret Realm, discussing how to form a group. As an experienced person, Li Qingyang told the situation inside to his junior brothers and suggested that they should enter in batches of 50. Go! Chu Xuanan, Hualing, and the other students from the gathering hall formed a group and entered first. Their strength was not as high as Li Qingyang and the others. After choosing the easy mode, although there were many beasts, their levels were not very high. Even so, after passing all 3 trials, they all collapsed on the ground. Hualing breathed heavily and said, I thought I was going to die. Ho. Suddenly, a surge of majestic energy gathered in his dantian. He was startled at first, but then he said with joy, I'm going to break through. No one paid attention to him. This was because everyone was bursting with the power of advancement. After a while, Chu Xuanan and the others all broke through 1 level. The whole process could be said to be easy. This was the awesome part of the Life and Death Secret Realm. As long as one passed and participated, one's level would increase unreasonably. However, if there were advantages, there would naturally be disadvantages. Once one failed to enter the Life and Death Secret Realm, one would have to bear the side effect of weakening. The 2 batches of disciples that entered in succession were strong enough to clear the stage without any mishaps. However, some of the groups that entered after that were not so lucky. Roar! Inside the secret territory, a group of 50 Sect of all times disciples was surrounded by hundreds of beasts. They had already made it to the 3rd stage, but their physical strength was clearly running out. Senior brother, a disciple said weakly, we can't go on. Damn it. The leading senior brother gripped his cold-edged sword tightly, his eyes flashing with determination. Even if we die, we have to kill a few more. Roar! The beast roared and rushed over. Kill! The disciples of the Sect of all times, who still had strength, raised their weapons and charged forward. None of them were afraid of death. Be an unyielding person, and walk with an unyielding momentum. These disciples who were in dire straits perfectly exemplified the motto of the Sect of all times. Boom! Light flashed and energy overflowed. It was a pity that because their physical strength was gradually running out, the 50 disciples who entered were unable to withstand the attacks of the beasts in the 3rd stage and all died. They did not really die, but were teleported to the outside world and laid on the ground like mud. Not only did they fail, but they also deeply experienced death. That feeling made their hair stand on end every time they thought about it. No, how could they still be alive? Didn't the patriarch say that they would die if they failed the challenge? The news that no one would die in the Life and Death Secret territory gradually spread in the sect, making everyone heave a sigh of relief. However, the disciples who continued to challenge the levels would not relax. This was because they hoped to clear the stage and increase their realm. They did not want to fall into a state of weakness, and were unwilling to experience death. Whether they could clear the stage or not depended on their strength. Next, the groups that entered one after another were either annihilated, or had insufficient physical strength, and did not make it to the end. As for the disciples who were eliminated, they would enter the space-time secret territory and use time acceleration to offset the side effects. When they came out, they would be alive and kicking. We must clear it next time. Many disciples who failed the challenge were not discouraged. Instead, they cultivated even harder. And so on. The cultivation atmosphere in the sect of all times became even stronger. And this was what Jun Changshao was most happy to see, because if the disciples did not give up, the sect would become stronger day by day. As for the excess contribution points, he had spent them all on the sect's infrastructure and aptitude elixirs. However, as more and more disciples succeeded, there was also a chance. Every once in a while, he would receive a notification of contribution points. It's a little annoying, Jun Changshao said. Can you block it? In the past, this kind of notification sound was like the sound of nature to him. But now he found it annoying. Dog. You're too arrogant. The system said. I can help the host to accumulate the contribution points obtained from the life and death secret territory temporarily, and then give it out at a fixed time. Okay, Jun Changshao said. Let's accumulate it first. The notifications were too frequent, and the rewards were not much. It was better to accumulate them and give them out all at once. Under the system's operation, there were no more notifications when disciples passed the life and death secret territory. After Jun Changshao's ears were clear, he began to think about how to refine the various weapons and pills rewarded by the epic mission in the shortest time possible. Especially the beginner-grade soul molding pill. Weapons and equipment were after all just supplementary items. The pills to increase one's cultivation were the key. Jun Changshao made a list and handed it to the procurement hall. The next day, Yi Xingchen returned. This guy had challenged many Earth-class geniuses in a short period of time, and the process was completely one-sided. Junior brother, Su Xiaoma said, there's another secret territory at the back of the mountain. After passing it, you'll increase your realm. Do you want to try it? Yi Xingchen's eyes lit up. He changed his route and headed to the back of the mountain. He stopped at the life and death secret territory and walked in without hesitation. It can't be. Senior brother Yi went in alone. This is too intrepid. The disciples who were forming groups were all dumbfounded. The difficulty of the secret territory was extremely high, and it was obviously a group type. It was really inconceivable for one to go in alone. Disciple Yi Xingchen has chosen the Hell mode. Suddenly, a deep voice came from the secret territory and resounded throughout the entire sect of all times. Hell mode. Oh my god. Is senior brother Yi crazy? Let's go and take a look. In a short while, thousands of people gathered outside the life and death secret territory. Jun Changshao was also alarmed. He walked out of the main hall and said with his mouth twitching, this guy is really courting death. A few minutes back in time, after Yi Xingchen entered the life and death secret territory, he saw the various modes listed in the sky and chose the Hell mode without hesitation. As a former martial emperor, his dignity did not allow him to choose a low-level mode. If he wanted to play, he would play something exciting. Xiao. The scene in front of him changed. Yi Xingchen was in an area similar to a volcano, and his surroundings were filled with a scorching aura. Rumble. After a short while, the ground shook and quickly cracked open. Roar. At this moment, a deafening roar came from the cracked ground, and a huge creature covered in flames slowly appeared. How big was it? Yi Xingchen was like an ant in front of it. Huff. Huff. The explosive flame aura became even more restless with the appearance of the flame beast. Even the space was instantly scorched and shattered. This is, Yi Xingchen's pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in shock, Saint Beast. Huff. The scorching flames instantly pressed down. Night Emperor thought in his mind, I'm finished. Chapter 666. How terrifying Hell mode was. The Saint Beast comparable to a martial emperor was the best proof. This was worthy of Yi Aojiao's identity in his previous life, and also worthy of the dignity of one of the 9 martial emperors. Come. Fight fair and square. Put on. At the entrance of the life and death secret realm, Yi Xingchen was thrown out. He lay on the ground like a pile of mud, occasionally twitching. A martial king facing a saint beast. Even a fool would know that it would be cold. The most tragic thing was that the saint beast didn't even make a move. Just the flames it spread out had instantly killed Yi Xingqian. Knight Emperor, don't cry. Let's stand up and continue. Qingyang. Jun Changshao said. Carry him back and bury him properly. Bury him? Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. He hurriedly carried Yi Xingqian and placed him in his room. The next day, Xiao Ziji personally brought the nutritious porridge that Lu Wanshi had specially prepared to feed him. Their relationship was like that of brothers. Junior brother. Before Xiao Ziji left, he said, don't be discouraged. After you recover, let's challenge the easy mode together. Damn it, Knight Emperor said to himself. When I return to my peak, I will definitely trample that saint beast under my feet. Consecutively challenging the Earth geniuses should have been the time to show off, but in the end he died in Hell mode, which definitely made him unhappy. Yi Xingqian challenging Hell mode was just a small interlude. However, it was also a warning to the disciples of the sect of all times, so they would all obediently choose the easy mode. Just like that. Every day, there would be disciples forming groups. Every day, there would be people passing and increasing their cultivation, and there would also be people who failed and suffered the side effects. Half a month later, more than 10,000 disciples entered the life and death secret realm. According to Li Qingyang's calculations, there were 6,000 to 7,000 disciples who successfully passed, and the rest all failed. The elimination rate is a bit high. Jun Changshao shook his head. Li Qingyang said, Patriarch, according to this disciple's analysis, the juniors who passed the trial have all undergone rigorous training in the Tower of Trials. The juniors who were eliminated either did not enter, or just started. If you haven't experienced the extreme refinement of your body, you'd better not enter the life and death secret realm. Jun Changshao said. The purpose of the secret realm was to increase one's strength. If one kept failing, although the time acceleration could offset the side effects, it would still be a waste of time. Pass down the order. Jun Changshao said. Disciples who have not trained in the training tower for more than half a year are forbidden to enter the life and death secret realm. Yes. Li Qingyang received the order and left. When this rule was spread out, the disciples who had just entered the sect could only obediently start strengthening their bodies in the molding room and the training tower. Because they could only enter once every 3 months, Xiao Ziji and the others continued to focus on their cultivation. However, along with the appearance of the life and death secret realm, the missions in the mission pavilion had also changed. Many of the more difficult missions required one to enter the life and death secret realm to hunt. Jun Changshao said, This is quite up to date. Patriarch. Li Luoqiu said, The purchasing hall's members have already bought the list given earlier. Is that so? Jun Changshao hurried to the purchasing hall, and through the various materials, he bought into the spatial ring. He opened the pill pavilion and weapon pavilion one by one, and matched them automatically. High-grade True Yang Sword 50, high-grade Cloud Piercing Blade 30, mid-grade Black Iron Shield 15. He chose all 3 types of equipment, and began to refine them automatically. At the same time, Jun Changshao took out the True Yang Sword that he had refined long ago, and didn't have time to observe. Clang! The sword was unsheathed and sword light flashed. The True Yang Sword was no different from ordinary swords, but the body of the sword was thicker, and the blade didn't look very sharp. It gave people a feeling of a heavy sword without a sharp edge. Shua! Shua! Jun Changshao brandished his sword, creating sparks of sword light. After testing it, he said with satisfaction, It's much stronger than the cold ray sword. Nonsense. The system said, This is a high-grade sword. Jun Changshao withdrew the sword and said, If disciple is equipped with all of them, it will definitely be easier to pass through the life and death secret realm. Back mountain grassland, Xiao Ziji clenched his fists and said with a serious face, Senior brother Su, are you ready? Su Xiaoma's mouth twitched and said, Patriarch, I think you should raise the shield and let junior brother Xiao test it with the sniper rifle. Don't talk nonsense. Jun Changshao said, Hurry up and raise it. Su Xiaoma could only raise the heavy shield. This was a black iron shield. This shield was much bigger than the hard iron shield, and was very heavy. The shield was carved with complicated patterns, which was quite the style of the European Middle Ages. If Su Xiaoma activated the spirit armor at this moment, coupled with the black iron shield, he would definitely look very handsome. He took a deep breath and said, "I'm ready." Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Ziji condensed his psionic energy and punched the black iron shield. As a representative of the extreme tempering of his body, the power of his punch was extremely strong. However, Su Xiaoma stood in place without moving an inch. He did not even feel the fluctuations caused by the impact of the external force on the shield. "Continue," Jun Changxiao said. Bang! Bang! Xiao Zuiji did not hold back anymore. Not only did he exert his physical strength to the extreme, he also used the mountain-collapsing and earth-shattering fist. The sound of explosions was like the sound of firecrackers during the Spring Festival. However, no matter how he attacked, no matter how much he exploded, Su Xiaoma, who was holding the shield, stood in place without moving an inch. "Patriarch," Su Xiaoma said in surprise, "this shield's defense is so strong. Let me give it a try." Jun Changxiao walked over, his right fist immediately filled with materialized psionic energy, and immediately punched out. "Don't bang thump. Thump. Thump." Su Xiaoma held the shield and frantically retreated. In the end he fell dozens of meters away. His eyelids rolled back, and he fainted while foaming at the mouth. "Xiao Ziji, I used too much strength." Jun Changxiao shook his head. After breaking through the sword and martial emperor realm, even if it was a casual attack, the strength would definitely be more than 10 million pounds. Even with the support of the black iron shield, Su Xiaoma would not be able to withstand it. However, to be able to withstand a punch without breaking, the defense of the black iron shield was quite high. "We can mass produce it so that everyone can have one." Jun Changxiao touched his chin and said, "It was possible, but he lacked the ores to refine the black iron shield, so he had to find a way to buy more." Dong dong dong. A regular sound came from the cafeteria. Ma Yongning stood in front of the stove, waving the kitchen knife skillfully. Wasn't it the new year? Lu Wanxia was preparing to make dumplings for her fellow disciples. Ma Yongning, who had broken through the Saber King realm, was more skilled in using the saber technique. His seemingly casual movements contained profound meanings that even I was not clear about. "Hey," Jun Changxiao leaned against the door and said, "I have a newly refined blade here. Do you want it?" Dong. Ma Yongning stopped and said proudly, "Patriarch, I will use my own blade. The blade of a swordsman." It was not something that could be changed easily. For example, this kitchen knife of his. Even if it was broken, it would still accompany him. Plop. Jun Changxiao threw the newly refined cloud-piercing blade over and turned to leave. But he also reminded, "The meat must be chopped up. This way the dumplings will have a soul." Understood. Ma Yongning continued to control the kitchen knife to chop. However, his eyes intentionally or unintentionally looked at the cloud-piercing blade that fell to the side, emitting a heavy aura. At this time, if he accidentally chopped off his hand, then it would be a divine work. Shua. Ma Yongning finally couldn't help but grab the hilt of the cloud-piercing blade, and then brought it in front of him. He licked the surface of the blade with his tongue, and his eyes immediately burned. "This blade is not bad." Lick the blade, judge the quality. This was definitely the unique skill of the kitchen knife king. Lu Wanxia walked into the kitchen and found Ma Yongning's kitchen knife on the chopping board, but he was nowhere to be seen. She was puzzled. "Uncle Ma, didn't you say that the kitchen knife is your life, and you have to carry it with you?" Chapter 667. On the martial arts arena, Ma Yongning waved the cloud-piercing blade, and the blade chi filled the sky. Shua. After a while he withdrew his blade. He caressed the surface of the blade lovingly, and there was a hint of tenderness in his eyes. The kitchen knife never left his body. That was in the past. Now, he officially announced that he had fallen in love with someone else. It wasn't that Ma Yongning wasn't firm enough, but that the cloud-piercing blade was just too much to his liking. That modified kitchen knife had deep feelings for him. But if he met a better knife, how difficult would it be to establish a sincere relationship? Men. It was normal to eat from the bowl and look at the pot. Patriarch. Zhongyi also tried out the cloud-piercing blade and said, "The quality of this blade is much higher than the cold light sword." "You are the owner of this blade," Jun Changxiao said. Zhongyi was the captain of the wolf cavalry, so giving him the cloud-piercing blade was also in hopes that he would be able to charge through the enemy lines. Moreover, the effect of a blade in battle was better than that of a sword. "Thank you, Patriarch, for giving me the blade," Zhongyi said excitedly. A total of 20 cloud-piercing blades were refined. Jun Changxiao did not give them to the disciples, but instead sent them into the weapon machine and set a price for the disciples to exchange for them with their contribution points. If there were enough of them, he would distribute one to everyone. Now that there were few of them, they could only use their contribution points to exchange for them. This way, they could also increase the enthusiasm of the disciples to do missions. Ors. Jun Changxiao returned to the main hall and kept muttering. The weapon and equipment formulas given by the epic quest were undoubtedly excellent, but without enough ores to mass-produce them, it would definitely cause one to collapse. What was even worse was that the ores needed for these weapons and equipment were not of a low level. Not only would it be difficult to buy them from the market, it would also cost a lot of money. If only there were veins that could produce all kinds of different ores, Jun Changxiao muttered. The system said, "The host's imagination is good. Don't tell me that there's one in the mall." No. Jun Changxiao was immediately disappointed. He opened the pill pavilion and looked at the high-grade qi-gathering pill and the low-grade soul-shaping pill. These two were not bad. However, there were also a lot of medicinal ingredients. Jun Changxiao had no shortage of medicinal herbs. After all, he had inherited all the seeds of the medical sage of all faces, but it would take time to grow them. Elder Wei. Walking over to the herb hall, Zhang Xian passed the list of medicinal herbs over and said, "Divide another area and plant the seeds of these medicinal herbs." "Yes." Elder Wei took the list and said, "The quality isn't too high. It should mature in a month or two." 1 or 2 months. Jun Changxiao rubbed his chin and said, "It's still acceptable." Huyang City. When Jun Changxiao walked in again, the cultivators and commoners in the city lined the streets to welcome him. Now he was no longer the Iron Bone sect leader, who was despised in the past, but the patriarch of the sect of all times who was revered by everyone. Needless to say, it felt good to be looked at with such respect. They walked straight. Jun Changxiao stopped at the AI family's medicine store. This medicine store had just been refurbished, and the entrance was even more magnificent than before. The AI family had always maintained the rule of auctioning pills every month. As the heal pill and body-shaping pills spread more and more, their wealth also accumulated. The pills were provided by Jun Changxiao, and they were only responsible for auctioning them. Every month, they would earn a huge profit. It would be strange if they didn't become rich. Moreover, the AI family was also gradually expanding their business. The 8 counties of the Azure Sun County had also opened branches of medicine stores. Jun Patriarch. AI Shang rushed over in a hurry. The AI family's business was getting bigger and bigger, and they couldn't do without Jun Changxiao, so they naturally didn't dare to be negligent. AI family head. Jun Changxiao laughed. When was this medicine store renovated? A month ago. AI Shang hurriedly made a gesture of invitation, and then ordered the servants of the medicine store to brew the best tea. Jun Changxiao sat down, looked at the magnificent interior decorations, and went back to the main topic. AI family head. I came here this time to ask, where is the place that produces ores? AI Shang didn't even think about it and said, Northern Desert State. This was the northernmost state of the Falling Star continent. Although most of the land was desert, the ground was rich in minerals. It's a bit far. Jun Patriarch needs ores. Not only do I need them, I need a lot of them, AI Shang said. If that's the case, I suggest that Jun Patriarch make a trip to the northern desert state. If you're lucky, you might be able to find an ownerless mine. Yes, Jun Changxiao also had this plan. Besides, let's just treat it as a trip. Jun Patriarch. AI Shang handed over a few space ring S and said, These are the herbs and seeds that my AI family has recently collected. Thank you for your trouble. Jun Changshao took it, gave him 2 bottles of heal pill, and 1 bottle of body-shaping pill, and then took his leave. Xiao, after leaving the city, he didn't hide anything, and directly flew up. After breaking through to the Emperor realm, Jun Patriarch's strength was unknown for now, but the ability to fly was very convenient. When he was about to fly into the sect, Jun Changshao noticed that many ordinary people in plain clothes had gathered at the foot of the mountain. It wasn't the day to recruit disciples, so what were they doing here? Village chief. In the crowd, a pretty girl said, "Let's go, Brother Anyo should have forgotten about me." Even if this girl was wearing ordinary clothes, it couldn't hide her natural beauty. "No," a gray-haired old man in his 80s said with a walking stick. "Since we're here, we have to find that kid and ask him why he left without saying goodbye, why he abandoned you." A rough-looking man standing next to him stared and said, "Don't think that you're so great just because you joined the sect of all times. If you really let my sister down, I'll be the first to stand up for you." The girl said, "Village chief, brother, maybe he just looks like Anyo." "Impossible," the rough-looking man said solemnly. "I've already asked around, that guy must be Anyo." "Anyo." Jun Changshao stood in midair and said, "The sect of all times doesn't have such a disciple." "Brother," the girl said, "if it's really Brother Anyo, it's also a great opportunity for him to join such a sect. If we come here recklessly, we might bring him trouble." "That makes sense." The village chief frowned. "That bastard said that he would marry my sister. A man should keep his promise." The rough-looking man said angrily, obviously determined to find Anyo for his sister. "That's right. A man should keep his promise." Suddenly, a voice rang out, startling everyone. They all turned their heads to look, and saw a young man who had appeared behind them without them noticing. The rough-looking man said, "Who are you?" His tone was much gentler, obviously knowing that this guy who was younger than him was not to be trifled with. Jun Changshao said, "The patriarch of the sect of all times." "He's the patriarch? I didn't expect him to be so young." The villagers started whispering among themselves. The village chief hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "I'm the village chief of Tuer village. I'm here today to look for a disciple called Peanyo." "Peanyo?" Jun Changshao shook his head. "Sorry, my sect doesn't have such a disciple." Hearing this, the girl's eyes showed a hint of disappointment, but she quickly concealed it and smiled. "I told you that you got the wrong person." "Lord Patriarch," the village chief said, "is there really no disciple called Peanyo?" "No," Jun Changshao said, although many disciples might not appear in the main text. Jun Changshao remembered their names clearly, even enough to write a full chapter. "Village chief, brother," the girl said, "since Brother Anyo isn't here, let's go back." "We can't go," the rough-looking man said firmly. "Peanyo must have changed his name. We can go in and look for him. We can definitely find him." "Okay." Jun Changshao raised his hand and said, "Please follow me to the sect." These people were just simple and honest people. Since they came to the sect to look for someone, they had to cooperate. Moreover, Jun Patriarch was also very curious. This rough-looking man was so confident that Peanyo was in the sect of all times. Who could he be? Chapter 668. The villagers from Tuer village had entered the sect of all times. Such a spacious courtyard, such a luxurious building. To ordinary people like them, it was like a palace. They had to thank Li Qingyang properly. After his many renovations and improvements, the sect of all times had been upgraded several times. If it was still the same as before, ordinary people might think that this was a dilapidated temple that had been abandoned for a long time. It's so big. The stone slabs under our feet must be very expensive. How much silver did this cost? The villagers of Tuer village stared with their eyes wide open, looking around as if they were Granny Lu taking a stroll in the Grand View Garden. Our Jun Patriarch was close to the people. If it were any other sect, they would definitely not allow outsiders to enter as they pleased. The girl's brother stared at the disciples of the sect of all times the entire time, looking for Pei Aniu. He only had this one sister. No matter what, he had to find that heartless man. Patriarch. Li Qingyang walked over and asked in surprise, "They are?" His arrival made the coarse man look carefully, then shook his head and said, "It's not that heartless man. They're here to look for someone," Jun Changxiao said. "Who are you looking for?" "Painu. Painu," Li Qingyang said blankly. "Patriarch, we don't have such a person in our sect." "Impossible," the coarse man said. "That guy must be here." Jun Changxiao said, "Qingyang, go and gather all the disciples here. Let them identify them one by one." "Yes." Li Qingyang received the order. Soon, more than 10,000 disciples gathered in the training field. There are so many people. One look and I can tell that they're very powerful warriors. The aura that the disciples of the sect of all times unintentionally revealed made the villagers of Tuer village tremble. Although the coarse man was also afraid, he still brought his sister to identify them one by one. In the first row, there were Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, Li Fei and others. However, Pei Aniu was not among them, so he continued to look at the second row. Unfortunately, after spending a long time looking through all the disciples present, he still couldn't find the heartless man he was looking for. He Wudi, the last disciple, had already seen Pei Aniu before he entered the door. He was not looking for Pei Aniu. "Brother," the woman said in a low voice, "I told you, you must have mistaken me for someone else." "That's impossible." The coarse man scratched his head and said, "Someone said that they've seen it before." "Lord Patriarch." He looked at Jun Changxiao and asked, "Are all your disciples here?" "They're all here," Jun Changxiao said. "Patriarch," Li Qingyang replied, "Junior Marshal Brother Yi is still recuperating in the space-time secret realm." Jun Changxiao's expression froze. Just now, the village chief of Tuer village said that Pei Aniu had left without saying goodbye. Back then, he seemed to have forcefully brought Yi Xingchen back to the sect. Damn, Pei Aniu couldn't be this guy. No. Jun Changxiao denied in his heart. He still has some self-restraint. How could he be a country bumpkin? Especially the name Pei Aniu. It's too degrading. "Everyone," he said, "there's still one disciple in seclusion. You can wait for a while." Counting the time, Yi Xingchen had been in the space-time secret realm for more than 2 days. He should be automatically sent out soon. "Okay," the coarse man said. Even if there was only one person left, he would not give up. The girl tugged at the corner of his clothes and whispered, "Brother, let's go. Don't disturb him anymore." She was afraid of finding Pei Aniu in the sect of all times, because with her brother's personality, he would definitely not let it go. Fortunately, there were so many disciples, but there was no one they were looking for. Although it was inevitable that they would feel disappointed, it was also the best result. "Brother Aniu, I know you must have your difficulties. Maybe one day, you will come back to Tuer village to look for me." The girl comforted herself with such words every day. Every day, she would go to the stream outside the village to wait. Although she waited in vain every time, she never gave up. If her brother had not found out that his sister seemed to be possessed and ran out of the village every day, he would not have asked around. After learning about Pei Aniu, he would not have brought the villagers to the sect of all times to look for him. "No," the coarse man said firmly. "We have to see all of them before we leave." "Brother." The girl bit her lip, and her eyes gradually turned red. "Huir," the old village chief said. "After seeing this last one, we will return to the village." "Yes," Jun Changxiao said, "since it's so far away." At this point he stopped because the girl, her brother, and all the villagers were looking in one direction. "Patriarch," Li Qingyang said, "Junior Brother Yi has come out." Jun Changxiao activated his spiritual senses, and naturally saw that Yi Xingchen had already appeared at the entrance to the back of the mountain. He also saw the tears in the girl's eyes, and the endless anger on her brother's face. If he guessed correctly, this Pei Aniu. "It's him," the coarse man said angrily. "It's him, the heartless man." As he spoke, he strode over with a look that clearly said, "I'm going to beat you up." Yi Xingchen, who had just walked out of the back of the mountain, saw a man rushing over and said calmly, "Where did this vulgar mortal come from?" Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, the coarse man punched him in the face. Thump! 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 Yi Xingchen staggered back a few steps, and a strong murderous intent appeared in his eyes. He said, "You dare to hit me? You heartless man." The coarse man strode forward and waved his fist. "You have cheated my sister for so long. Today you must pay the price. Heartless man." Yi Xingchen looked at the patriarch blankly. Jun Changshao also looked at him blankly as if to say, "This is your own romantic history. Why are you looking at me?" Bang! Bang! Yi Xingchen was punched twice more. He said angrily, "Trash, you are courting death." Bang! Bang! He was punched a few more steps back. Speaking of which, why was Night Emperor so weak? How could an ordinary person hit him? Sigh. Don't mention it. It was not even hell mode. If others were weak, they would recover quickly after entering the space-time secret realm. However, after 3 days, he only had the ability to walk and was still in an absolutely weak state. Otherwise, even a martial king might not be able to touch the corner of his clothes, let alone an ordinary person. Brat! The coarse man raised his fist again and said angrily, "You deceived my sister with your sweet words and left without a word. My sister waited for you for so many years. If I don't beat you up today, I won't be able to get rid of the hatred in my heart." "Brother!" The girl rushed over from behind and grabbed her brother's hand tightly. She cried, "Anyo must have his reasons." "Sister," the coarse man said angrily, "don't believe him anymore. Don't protect him anymore." "Brother Anyo." The girl hugged her brother and looked at Yi Xingchen. "Run. Why should I run? Why should I run? Also, who the hell is Brother Anyo?" "Patriarch," Su Xiaoma said. "What's going on? What else could it be?" Jun Changshao shrugged and said, "That girl is Yi Xingchen's fiancée. He dumped her later and came to find us today." The disciples of the sect of all times widened their eyes. "Oh my god! This girl is actually junior brother Ye's, senior brother's fiancée." Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, the disciples either sat down or sat on small benches. At this time, each of them was given a piece of watermelon. They were the perfect audience to watch the show. Chapter 669. Phew! The coarse man panted, his eyes flashing with anger. Yi Xingchen stood a few meters away. Although he had been punched a few times, his body was strong, and there were no bruises on his face. It had to be said. Even if he had no cultivation, even if he was abnormally weak, our Night Emperor was more resistant than a punching bag. The girl called Hui stood in front of him, protecting him with her weak body. Although there were tears in her eyes, there was determination. "Trash," Yi Xingchen said angrily. "When I recover my cultivation, I'll tear you to pieces." To be beaten up by an ordinary person was a great humiliation. "Sister," the coarse man pointed at him and said, "Get out of the way. I'll teach him a lesson." "Brother, you can beat a martial emperor. I'll give you a thumbs up." "Brother," Huier cried and said, "I beg you don't hurt Anyo anymore." Because his sister was protecting him, the coarse man did not dare to rush over. He could only glare at Yi Xingchen with the most angry eyes. Crack! Su Xiaoma cracked a melon seed and said, "Patriarch, I didn't expect junior brother Yi to be this kind of person." "Yes," Li Fei said. "He has a fiancée, and he hasn't gone back for so many years. This is too much." They more or less understood the reason from watching the melon seeds, and they despised Yi Xingchen's behavior of abandoning his fiancée. Sigh. We're all standing on one side. He actually has a beautiful fiancée, and he even dumped her. He's utterly heartless. At that moment, not to mention Huiyer's brother, Su Xiaoma, Li Fei, and the others all wanted to beat Yi Xingchen up. That's strange. Li Qingyang was puzzled. Junior brother Yi is always so proud and aloof. How can he have a fiancée? Maybe he's faking it. Su Xiaoma said. He must be a flirtatious person in private. These words made the disciples' imagination run wild. Yi Xingchen, who was usually serious in speech and manner, was actually a playboy who was secretly seducing young ladies. The scene immediately became vivid. Jun Changshao remained silent. He could tell from Yi Xingchen's eyes that he really didn't know this girl called Huier. Could it be? Jun Changshao said. Did this guy lose his memory after being hit by a happy soccer ball? He clearly remembered that after participating in the inter-sect tournament, When he brought the disciples back, he kicked the ball out and coincidentally hit Yi Xingqian's head, causing him to faint. In the middle of nowhere, in order to prevent this fellow from being taken away by the wild wolves, he could only bring him back to the sect and kindly accept him as a disciple. Good intentions? The system asked. Does the host's conscience not hurt? Jun Changxiao's mind raced. In the end, he came to the conclusion that this kind of melodramatic plot that only appeared in idle dramas really happened to Yi Xingqian. As the instigator, he immediately felt guilty. There was no denying it. His unexpected action allowed the sect to have a disciple with unlimited potential. But if he didn't knock him unconscious and cause him to lose his memory, he would have already gotten married and wouldn't have let a girl down for so many years. Sorry, Jun Changxiao said to himself. I'm the one who delayed the two of you. It was not too late. There was still a chance to salvage the situation. Jun Changxiao stood up and said, Xingqian, a man should be responsible. Explain to this girl properly. The corner of Yi Xingqian's mouth twitched. I don't even know her. What's there to explain? However, Night Emperor was not a fool. At this moment, he gradually realized something. He nurtured his incomplete soul in the earth's core, then broke through the earth and was reborn. He took over the body of a woodcutter youth. He should be Anyo, the girl's fiancé. Jun Changxiao transmigrated and inherited the original owner's memory. Night Emperor's possession was a simple and violent method. The original owner's soul vanished into thin air, and his memory was not synchronized. Yes, as he guessed, the original owner of this body was called Pei Anyo. He was an orphan who grew up without parents and relied on others to feed him. Later, Jun Changxiao took away the possessed Yi Xingqian. The villagers searched for him for a long time, but couldn't find him. They thought that he was eaten by wolves in the wild. If Night Emperor hadn't been flying around recently and was accidentally discovered by the villagers of Tuer village, they probably wouldn't have come looking for him. Village chief, Jun Changxiao said, the disciples of the sect of all times are definitely not people who go back on their words. Yi, since Pei Anyo and Miss Hui Er are engaged, I will uphold justice. Ftaha, Su Xiaomao couldn't help but laugh. Pei Anyo, this name was too down to earth. No, his waist muscles were almost stiff from laughing. The disciples of the sect of all times also couldn't help but laugh. After all, Yi Xingqian was their senior brother. They gave him some face and didn't laugh out loud. Jun Patriarch also wanted to laugh. As a patriarch who had to maintain his poise, no matter how funny it was, he wouldn't laugh unless he couldn't help it. Ha ha ha. Ah ha ha ha. Jun Changxiao put his hand on Li Qingyang's shoulder and laughed until tears flowed out. He said, should I call him Pei Xingqian or Yi Anyo? Seeing the patriarch and his fellow disciples laughing so hard, Yi Xingqian was so angry that every hair on his body was about to stand up. All right. Jun Changxiao stopped laughing and returned to the topic at hand. Miss Hui Er can stay in the sect. Anyo. Uft. He was also injured during cultivation and needs someone to take care of him. Ah. Hui Er hurriedly turned around and said in a panic, Brother Anyo, you're injured? It could be seen. This was genuine concern, and it was definitely not an act. Xiao Ziji's eyes were filled with complex emotions. Back then, his fiancée brought the elders of the Lily Holy Sect to break off the engagement and brought him great pain. On the other hand, junior brother Ye's fiancée was like heaven and earth. Woman. Yi Xingqian pointed at the door and said coldly, Scram. Although he had already guessed that this girl was involved with the original owner, he, who was wholeheartedly pursuing martial arts, would definitely not be troubled by love. Not to mention, in his previous life he was injured by a woman. This was the most heart-wrenching pain in Yi Xingqian's life. He would never be able to get over it. It could be said that Night Emperor's heart, Night Emperor's feelings. At the moment of his death in his previous life, he had completely sealed himself off. In this life, he only wanted to return to the peak, to reach a new height, and personally kill that woman. Anyo, Jun Changxiao reprimanded. What are you talking about? Jun Patriarch, who didn't know what was going on, thought that he had broken Yi Xingqian's head with a ball. In order to make up for his mistake, he had to matchmake this couple. Lord Patriarch, The village chief cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your deep understanding." At first, he was very worried when he came to the sect of all times to look for Peonyo. But after he came, he realized that Jun Patriarch was actually so approachable. He had seen too many rich and powerful people acting recklessly. It was really unexpected to meet such an amiable patriarch. "Elder," Jun Changshao said, "please don't worry. If Anyo dares to bully Hui, I will be the first to not let him off." "Yi Xingqian, Lord Patriarch," the rough-looking man said, "can I stay?" He was still worried that Peonyo would bully his sister, so he wanted to stay. "Brother," Hui said, "you can go back." She was afraid that if her brother stayed, he wouldn't be able to resist beating up brother Anyo again. Jun Changshao definitely couldn't let the rough-looking man stay, because he wanted to give Yi Anyo and Miss Hui a chance to cultivate their relationship. Thus he waved his hand and said, "Qingyang, send the guest off." Chapter 670. You may not have experienced despair, but Yi Xingqian was in deep despair now, because a woman he did not know was standing in front of him with a bowl of porridge. "Brother Anyo," Hui said, "let me feed you." Yi Xingqian clenched his fist and said, "Can you leave and close the door?" Because the patriarch had ordered him not to treat this woman rudely, he would have pointed at the door and told her to get lost. "Brother Anyo," Hui bit her lip and said, "You've changed, you've become a stranger." "Don't call me Brother Anyo," Yi Xingqian said coldly. "He's already dead." "I know," Hui said. "You're now Yi Xingqian, you're a disciple of the sect of all times, you've been reborn." Yi Xingqian was speechless. He was obviously telling the truth. This stupid woman must have misunderstood. "Ah, Brother Xingqian," Hui said with tears in her eyes. "You said before that you'll treat me well forever. Is it because you've achieved great success now that you're despising me?" "That's right," Yi Xingqian said coldly. "You're not worthy of me." This woman was too annoying. He could only pretend to be Peonyo, a heartless man, so that she would leave tactfully. "Knight Emperor, you're so cruel. No poison, no great man, no wine, no banquet." Drip drip. Hui stood by the bed with a bowl in her hand, tears rolling down her cheeks. She firmly believed that Brother Anyo would not forget her. She waited outside the village for 3 years until she found him today, and realized that everything had changed. He was now a disciple of the sect of all times with a bright future. Why would he care about a poor commoner like her? Hui put the bowl on the table and said dejectedly, "Brother Anyo, I'm leaving." Go. Yi Xingqian said, "Don't bother me in the future." He knew that the girl liked Peonyo, but after he took over her body, they were destined to be separated by life and death. Speaking of which, wouldn't Knight Emperor feel guilty for possessing an ordinary person's body for no reason? The idea was laughable. In his previous life, he had stood at the pinnacle of the continent. Why would he care about an ordinary person? "Miss Hui." Jun Changshao stood at the entrance of the inner courtyard and looked at Hui, who was walking over with her head lowered. He said, "I have something to tell you." Actually, Anyo's head was seriously injured, and he lost some important memories. He also forgot some important people. Hui who was originally disheartened, suddenly widened her eyes. "So," Jun Changshao comforted, "his indifference to you is not because he has a change of heart, but because he really doesn't remember." "So that's how it is, that's how it is." Hui came to a sudden realization, and the pain in her heart lessened quite a bit. It's not that Brother Anyo has a change of heart, but he has forgotten everything. I should understand him. Jun Changshao said, "From your eyes, I can see that you and Anyo were once very much in love. Unfortunately, God played a joke on you." "Lord Patriarch," Hui pleaded, "what should I do?" "It's very simple." Jun Changshao put his hands behind his back and said, "Let him fall in love with you again." The system was speechless. Who would have thought that this guy who was destined to be alone for the rest of his life was quite good at teaching others about love? Let me say this again. I, Jun Changshao, am not single. I just don't want to pick up girls. Hui was silent for a while. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said firmly, "Lord Patriarch, I understand." As the saying goes, The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. Today, I will make an exception and accept you as a disciple of the sect of all times. From now on, you can cultivate together with Anyo, Jun Changshao said. Thank you, Lord Patriarch. Just like that, Hui'er became a disciple of the sect of all times without going through the assessment. Sigh. Sitting in the main hall, Jun Changshao said, not only does he care about the disciple's cultivation, but he also cares about the disciple's marriage. Where else can I find such a patriarch? After becoming a disciple, Hui'er changed into the sect's uniform. Her aura instantly improved. She was not as beautiful as Lu Qianqian, but she was still a pretty girl from a humble family. She was the kind of wife and mother who would lead a good life. Hui'er did not approach Yixingchen. Instead, she took the initiative to talk to her senior brothers and sisters to understand Brother Anyo's personality after he lost his memories. In the cafeteria, Yixingchen sat down. When he saw Hui'er walk in wearing the sect's uniform, his entire face froze. This woman had not left yet, and was even wearing the sect's uniform. Could it be Junior Brother Anyo? Su Xiaoma leaned over and said with a smile, she's also a member of our sect now. Let me say this. If you dare to bully junior sister Hui'er, I won't let you off easily. That's right, that's right. Li Fei echoed. Li Qingyang walked over and said in a meaningful tone, Junior Brother Yi, junior sister Hui'er is such a good person. You can't let her down. Kid. Elder Wei sat next to him and said, do you want me to teach you a few moves? Sigh. The entire sect was worried sick for Anyo. Yixingchen clenched his fists. Forget it, forget it. As long as that woman doesn't come to bother me, it doesn't matter even if she's in the sect. After Hui'er joined the sect, she really did not bother Yixingchen. Instead, she learned about his habits and so on through her fellow sect members. Brother Anyo likes to cultivate martial arts. I have to work hard too. Brother Anyo likes to eat senior sister Lu's dishes. I can go and ask her for advice. Therefore, when Hui'er was not cultivating, she would go to the cafeteria to ask Lu Wansher for advice. She even took the initiative to help out in the kitchen. One day, Yixingchen ate a mouthful of food. He frowned and said, the taste is not right. Lu Wansher suddenly appeared in front of him. She rested her chin on her hand and said with a smile, Senior Brother Yi, this is junior sister Hui'er's food. How does it taste? Pa. Yixingchen put down his chopsticks and walked out of the cafeteria. Is it not good? Hui'er, who was standing in the kitchen, said with a face full of frustration. The entire sect of all times knew that Yixingchen had lost his memory. Everyone was actively helping Hui'er, so that the two of them could develop a relationship that could move one's heart. However, only Yixingchen knew. It was not that he had lost his memory, but that Pei Anyo was already dead. However, he could not take the initiative to say it out loud. After all, his reincarnation was the biggest secret in his heart. So annoying. Yixingchen stood on the peak of the back mountain, his emotions extremely unstable. Anyo. Jun Changshao appeared behind him and said, don't pursue martial arts too much, and don't pretend to be cold-blooded and heartless. Experiencing the 7 emotions and 6 desires, and enjoying life is actually another kind of cultivation. Patriarch, can you not call me Anyo? Alright, Pei-Xingchen. Yixingchen almost couldn't hold back, and jumped down from the mountain peak. Jun Changshao could only try his best to provide opportunities for the emotional problems between disciples. Whether or not they could succeed would depend on themselves. A few days later, after arranging everything, Jun Patriarch brought little Longlong and left the sect. What for? He was going to the northern desert state to look for ores to forge equipment. Before leaving, he sent a sound transmission. Anyo, I hope that when I return, you and Hui'er can get back together. Get back together, your sister. The Night Emperor, who had always been proud and aloof, almost couldn't help but curse out loud. On this day, Jun Changshao went to the northern desert state. The entire sect of all times continued to worry about Anyo and Hui'er. Chapter 671. Shua. Jun Changshao carried little Longlong and flew toward the northern desert state. It was a very long distance from the southwest to the north. If they didn't fly, they would have to walk for several years. The system said. Host Yi Xingchen is not simple. Jun Changshao said. He must be hiding a secret. He had been thinking about Yi Xingchen all this time, and felt that it was not as simple as it seemed. First of all, why would Pei Anyo from Tuer village say that he was Yi Xingchen? If he lost his memory, shouldn't he ask me who I am and where I am? What is this place? Why would he make up a name? Moreover, Jun Changshao guessed that Yi Xingchen should know a martial art above the divine grade, which was why he could surpass Li Qingyang and the others. This was definitely not something an ordinary villager could do. There were some things that could be found with just a little thought. Especially when it came to Yi Xingchen, there were just too many flaws. Could it be that he didn't lose his memory, and didn't recognize Hui Er and the villagers of Tuer village? Jun Changshao said. The system said. Did he recognize the wrong person? Impossible. Jun Changshao shook his head and said. There are so many people here. How could he recognize the wrong person? The system said. Then there is only one possibility. His memory didn't disappear, but it was erased by an external force. Continue, Jun Changshao said. The system said. I guess that a strong person might have met Yi Xingchen and taught him a cultivation technique above the divine grade, forcefully erasing all his memories. Then how do you explain the name Yi Xingchen? Jun Changshao said. The system was silent. If it was someone who lost his memory, how could he come up with such a name? Even if he made it up, it couldn't be so meaningful. Jun Chang smiled and said, Will it possess a body like me and then replace it? The host's imagination is really wild. The system said. Jun Changshao said, Didn't I also transmigrate and reincarnate? Since this happened to me, perhaps others can do it too. If the Night Emperor was reincarnated through possession, and did not inherit the memories of the original owner, it makes sense that Hui Er and the villagers of Tuer village are not involved. At the same time, it also explains why there is a mental cultivation method above the divine tier. It's because it wasn't taught to him by someone else. He brought it with him. The system said. That makes sense. Jun Changshao continued. Yi Xingchen's way of doing things is clearly different from his peers. In my opinion, he's not a transmigrator but The system said. The reincarnation of a powerhouse. Not bad. Jun Changshao said. The system said. It's not impossible for a powerhouse to be reborn in such a high-level realm. Actually, Jun Changshao did not only suspect Yi Xingchen, but also He Wudi. This was because this guy was also more experienced than his peers. His cultivation speed was just too frightening. If Yi Xingchen is really a powerhouse reborn, then he and Pei Anyo are two different people. It's naturally impossible for him and Hui Er to be together, the system said. I can't be sure now, Jun Changshao said. So I hope Hui Er can be more proactive and make that guy confess to me. The system fell silent. At this moment it finally understood. Matchmaking Yi Xingchen and Hui Er was more like this guy's elaborate scheme to force the other party to confess the secret in his heart. Judging from the past few days, Yi Xingchen was indeed very irritable. Perhaps he would take the initiative to confess in order to get some peace. Haven't you been searching for information on the Starfall continent? Jun Changshao said. Have you found any powerhouses related to Yi Xingchen? No. The system said. Yi Xingchen is very rare in the Starfall continent. Various historical documents do not have a character named Yi Xingchen. Could it be that the name is fake? Jun Changshao said. What cultivation base does a powerhouse need to be able to be reborn? It's hard to say. The system said. Some people might not have a high cultivation base. They might be struck by lightning by chance and inexplicably reborn in someone else's body. Jun Changshao broke down. Are you talking about that? I forgot. The system said. You were struck by lightning. Damn. Jun Changshao said. Right. The system said. In my search, among the 9 great martial emperors who look down on all living things, one of them is called Night Emperor. Night Emperor? Jun Changshao said. Isn't that very common? In his opinion, Night Emperor, Emperor Ming, Emperor Qing, and Emperor Qi were the most commonly used titles of Xuanhuan powerhouses, just like Xiao, Xu Long and Yi. It is very common. The system said. But this Night Emperor has already fallen. Oh. Jun Changshao became interested and said. How did he die? When did he die? He's been dead for a few thousand years. No one knows how he died. The system said. Jun Changshao said. After being dead for so long, if he could be reborn, he would have already been reborn. What's interesting is, the system said, Night Emperor had a close female friend called Ling Yao. Not long after he fell, she ascended to the higher realms. Jun Changshao was not interested in the martial emperor's romantic history, so he said, search more. If you find any information related to Yi Xingchen, tell me immediately. Shua. A streak of light flew across the sky, covering over 10 miles in a breath. Northern Desert State. It was a state that was 70% desert. In just a day, Jun Changshao brought little Long Long and flew over, landing in a desert that was filled with yellow sand. The air here was extremely dry, the sun was strong, as if they were in a furnace. There's no one. Jun Changshao did not see any martial artists along the way. 1,000 miles north, there is a city called Yellow Sand City. If the host wants to buy ores, you can go there to take a look. The system said. After upgrading to version 2.0, its understanding of the falling star continent became more and more comprehensive. Okay. Jun Changshao continued to fly, and saw a blurry building in the north. Although the walls of Yellow Sand City were made of stone, they were covered in a layer of golden yellow, after being swept by the yellow sand for many years. Shua. Jun Changshao landed far away from the city, and chose to walk. Yellow Sand City was very big, but because of the environment, there were not many locals living here. The whole city seemed empty. Hey. As soon as he entered the city, a middle-aged man with a headscarf wrapped around his head to block the sun said, You look unfamiliar. Are you here to buy ores? Yes. You came at the wrong time. A few big sects are in conflict because of ores. They have been fighting for half a year, and now all the ore shops in the city are out of stock. He released his spiritual sense and covered the whole city. As expected, many ore shops were closed. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. He came personally to the northern desert state to buy ores, but there was no stock. Friend, Jun Changshao asked, are there any ores in other cities? Yellow Sand City is the biggest ore delivery point in the northern desert state. If there is none here, there won't be many in other cities. The middle-aged man said, let's wait. The ore market will only recover after the big sects have finished. How long will the fight last? Jun Changshao asked. The middle-aged man said, these sects are on par with each other. Based on the previous fights, it will take at least 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years? What a scam! Jun Changshao asked. What sects are they? The middle-aged man said kindly. Friend, I advise you not to ask about it, or you will be in trouble. Huff huff. At that moment, a thick and heavy qi filled the air and completely restrained him. Jun Changshao looked at him coldly and said, if you don't tell me, disaster will descend from the sky. Chapter 672. Most of the mineral veins in the northern desert state were controlled by the major sections. Usually, everyone minded their own business and developed their own resources. However, it was nothing more than peace on the surface. Sometimes a little friction would escalate into a fight. For example, half a year ago, a small exploration team of a sect found a small mineral vein. Then, another sect came and said that they found it first. So both sides started fighting. At first, it was a small fight. But who didn't know some people? Who didn't have allies? As a result, the two sects called one after another to summon people. The small-scale battle instantly evolved into a large-scale battle. According to the statistics of the relevant departments, there were as many as 10 sects involved in the fight, and all of them mainly operated mineral veins. They had been busy fighting for the past half a year, and didn't do business. So Yellow Sand City's mineral veins were seriously out of stock. Of course, there were also forces from other provinces who came to mediate, hoping to restore the supply. But the sects in the northern desert state were as violent as the environment here. They wouldn't stop until there was a winner. It was fine if they fought until their heads bled. But June Patriarch was in urgent need of mineral veins. He couldn't wait for 2 or 3 years. No, Jun Changshao said. I have to mediate. The system said, judging from the host's hidden attributes, there's an 80% chance that he will be a troublemaker. After so many years, it had a good understanding of Jun Patriarch's character. I can't help but want to say, together. Swoosh. Jun Changshao was in a hurry. He took off directly from Yellow Sand City. Plop. The middle-aged man, who almost got into trouble, fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with fear. He is Wu Huang. Boom. Boom. On a sunken sand dune, thousands of martial artists were fighting. Judging from their clothes, they were from at least 10 different forces. Humph. On a high ground far away from the sand dune, dozens of middle-aged and old people stood. Judging from their auras, they were all martial kings. There was even an emperor. The leader was the patriarch of the fourth-rate Sungsha sect, Feng Feisha. Humph. An old man sneered. How dare they fight with our Tsangsha sect for mineral veins? Did the wind-riding sect eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? This person was a grand elder of the Azure Sand sect. Originally he was in seclusion. Later on, the sect and the few forces led by the wind-riding sect fought for a long time without a clear victor. So he specially came out of seclusion to help. Opposite them was another group of people, led by the wind-riding sect's sect master. Wu Huang had also come out of closed-door training since the beginning of the fight between the disciples, and now, even an emperor-level expert had been alerted. They had truly developed feelings for each other. Boom! Boom! Thousands of people were still fighting fiercely in the sunken sand dunes. Both sides exchanged dozens of blows, and then parted while panting. It was unknown how many times they had fought. Although each of the 10 sects had lost a lot of disciples, they were still evenly matched. Old Monster Su, the great elder of the Azure Sand sect, coldly said, "Why don't you and I have a contest? Whoever loses will give up the mine." Bullshit. The Wind Rider sect's Emperor Realm expert called Old Monster Su said, "That mine was discovered by our Wind Rider sect first. Why did your Grey Sand sect have to come and cause trouble?" Humph. The Azure Sand sect's Grand Elder said indifferently, "My Azure Sand sect was the first to discover this or vein." Both sides had their reasons. There was no other way. They could only use their fists to speak. Old Monster Su, the Azure Sand sect's Grand Elder, said indifferently, "It's meaningless for you and me to argue about this. Why don't we have a fight?" "All right," Old Monster Su said in a deep voice. "Then let's fight." Swoosh. Swoosh. The two of them flew out at the same time, and then hovered in the air. Their powerful auras spread out from each other. The eyes of the martial artists who came to cheer for them immediately lit up. It was rare to see an emperor-level battle. The thousands of martial artists in the sunken sand dunes took the opportunity to return to their respective camps. After all, it was easy to get involved in a fight between experts of this level. Whoosh whoosh, the two powerful emperor-level chi domains were like two huge ferocious beasts colliding in the sky, causing the space to gradually distort. Judging from the situation, the two of them were evenly matched. If they continued to fight like this, it would be difficult to determine the winner without fighting for 3 to 5 days. Once experts of the same strength fought, the scene would be exciting, but it would take too much time. There were records. The two Wusheng had fought for more than 10 years. Not only did their son and daughter get married, but they also had many children and grandchildren. Whoosh whoosh. They were still releasing their chi domains and squeezing the space. Old Monster Su, the Azure Sand sect's Grand Elder, said coldly, "Your cultivation hasn't improved at all these years." Humph. Old Monster Su said disdainfully, "Same to you." The Azure Sand sect's Grand Elder raised his hand and said, "I've been comprehending the yellow sand palm all these years. Now that I've comprehended it to the extreme, I'll let you see its power." Yellow sand palm? My God, that's a Saint-grade martial technique, everyone exclaimed. Old Monster Su smiled coldly and said, "I've also comprehended the 10-direction Rakshasa fist to the extreme. Today I'll use you to test it." Another Saint-grade martial technique. The two Wu Huangs both used Saint-grade martial techniques. They were going to fight for real. Retreat! Retreat! Many martial artists were afraid of being affected and retreated a few hundred meters. At this moment, the Azure Sand Sect's Grand Elder and Old Monster Su withdrew their chi domains in tacit understanding. They were surrounded by thick spiritual energy. Whoosh whoosh for a moment. The violent spiritual energy spread for thousands of meters and rolled up the rolling yellow sand, covering the sky and the sun. Yellow sand palm. 10-direction Rakshasa fist. 2 vigorous sounds rang out in the yellow sand, and the whole space seemed to be shattered. Whoosh whoosh. The cultivators who had hidden far enough away looked up and saw that in the midst of the dust and sand, a huge killer beast had instantly gathered and then suddenly raised its palm and slammed down. At the same time, light appeared below, and a dazzling golden fist went up to meet it. Crack, crack, crack. Under the interference of the 2 Saint-grade martial techniques, the space instantly collapsed. Many cultivators watched with rapt attention. They could even imagine the shocking scene that would occur when the 2 powerful martial skills collided. Wait, what's that? Many martial kings suddenly realized that a young man in white had appeared in the middle of the palm and fist. Damn it! Who is he? Why did he appear in the battlefield? Ha! The Azure Sand Sect's Grand Elder and Old Monster Su also realized that someone had appeared, but they had already released their martial techniques. Whoosh whoosh, 2 different forces pressed down from above and below, forming an impact that was still attacking the space barrier. Whoosh! At this moment, the man in white suddenly opened his arms. His left finger met the Sandman palm, and his right palm met the fist. Bang! Bang! 2 loud sounds were heard. The martial artist's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. That was because the young man in white's right finger had gently blocked the Sandman palm, and his left palm had firmly caught the fist. The 2 majestic forces were rampaging around him, but he was safe and sound. How is this possible? The Azure Sand Sect's Grand Elder and Old Monster Su were dumbfounded. The martial technique that they had painstakingly comprehended had been easily caught by this guy. The most intolerable thing was that in the area where the wind was howling, the other party's hair was not messed up at all, as if it had been drawn with a pen. Whoosh whoosh at this moment. The man in white's arms were filled with powerful spiritual energy, which turned into a large net that covered the Sandman and the fist. Bang! Bang! The power contracted, and there was an explosion. The palm print and fist print were instantly crushed to pieces. You two. The man in white grinned, revealing 2 white teeth, and said, "Give June some face and stop fighting." Chapter 673. Although the Grand Elder and Old Monster Su were only first stage Wu Huang, the power of their martial techniques was still quite explosive. The man in white who suddenly appeared not only easily caught it, but also crushed it easily. He was really powerful. That's right. To do such a thing, he must be the patriarch of the sect of all times, Jun Gosheng. He rushed to the scene of the fight as quickly as possible. Coincidentally, the Grand Elder and Old Monster Su were about to fight. At first, Jun Patriarch planned to wait for the 2 of them to finish fighting before appearing. But seeing that the power of the gathered martial techniques was not bad, he decided to test his strength at the last minute. The sect testing machine could no longer satisfy Jun courting death. He needed something more exciting. Unfortunately, the Saint-grade martial techniques condensed by the 2 first stage, Wu Huang did not have any lethality. Sigh. How disappointing. Puff. Puff. The backlash caused by their moves being broken made the Grand Elder and Old Monster Su vomit blood. Their eyes were filled with shock. This young man could casually receive and break their moves. He must be very strong. You too, Jun Changshao said. Can you give Jun some face? Under normal circumstances, the irritable Northern Desert State martial artists would definitely say, "Kid, who are you? Why should we give you face?" But it was different now. Jun Patriarch easily broke the moves of 2 emperor-level powerhouses, which deeply shocked everyone. They had to give him face. Old Monster Su suppressed the boiling blood in his body and said, "Who are you?" "The patriarch of the sect of all times," Jun Changshao said. Although his words were calm, they revealed an extremely strong pretentious aura, which directly suppressed the desolation of the Northern Desert State. This was the strongest pretentious realm, He did not want to be pretentious, but his pretentious aura was as bright and outstanding as a firefly in the dark night. Old Monster Su was stunned and said, "You are Jun Changxiao?" "That's right." Jun Changxiao smiled even more brightly. Someone in such a remote place had heard of him. He was really full of satisfaction. "So it's Jun Patriarch." The Azure Sand Sect's Grand Elder clasped his hands and said, "Excuse me. Excuse me." From the look in his eyes, it was clear that he wasn't just being polite. Instead, he truly admired him. Sect of all times? The top 3 sects of southwest Yangzhou that recently defeated the Lily Sacred Sect. Why is he in the northern desert state? The news of him challenging the Lily Saint Sect and beating up the disciples of the various sects in the eastern vast state had long spread throughout the continent. Even the warriors of the northern desert state had heard of it. "Everyone," Jun Changxiao said, "isn't it just a mine? There's no need to make such a fuss. Wouldn't it be better if everyone sat down and talked peacefully?" As he spoke, he landed on the sand dune. He was here to stop the fight, and also to be the peacemaker. The great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and Old Monster Su gave him face and flew down, but neither of them looked at the other. If not for Jun Changxiao's appearance, the two of them would definitely have fought it out. Jun Changxiao said, "There's no problem in this world that can't be solved. If there is, then let's talk about it over wine." Shwa, shwa. A table, chairs, and a few jars of wine appeared out of thin air on the sand. In the desolate desert, drinking to one's heart's content and singing Desert Camel was really carefree. "Please sit." Jun Changxiao waved his hand. The great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and Old Monster Su's mouths twitched, but they could only sit down. "Jun Patriarch," Old Monster Su said, "why did you come to the northern desert state?" He definitely did not think that this guy came from southwest Yangzhou just to stop the fight. Jun Changxiao opened the mud seal and gave each of them a jar of wine. He said, "Try my southwest Yangzhou's specialty wine first." What kind of show was this guy playing? Although the great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and Old Monster Su were depressed, they could only pretend to be polite because they were afraid of Jun Changxiao's strength. "Both of you," Jun Changxiao said, "the conflict between the two of you originated from the mine. If you give it to me, all the problems will be solved." Puft, puft. The great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and Old Monster Su spat out their wine. "Give the mine to him? Why not go to the sky and stand side by side with the sun?" Jun Patriarch. Old Monster Su's mouth twitched. "Please don't joke around." Gulp. Jun Changxiao drank a mouthful of wine and said with a very serious look, "I'm very serious." He needed ores. Instead of going to the ore store to buy, it was better to dig from the mine. However, to be so thick-skinned and ask someone to give the mine to him, wasn't it too shameless? The system was already used to it, and was too lazy to complain. Jun Patriarch. The great elder of the Azure Sand Sect said in a deep voice, "You're going too far." The sects of the northern desert state relied on the mine to become rich, and they did not hesitate to fight. How could they give it to someone else? "Of course," Jun Changxiao said, "I won't take it for free. I'm willing to pay the two sects a fee." Hearing this, the great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and Old Monster Su's eyes turned gentle. This kid was very strong, and they definitely did not want to provoke him. If he gave them the same amount of money, they could still accept it. "Jun Patriarch," Old Monster Su said, "how much do you plan to give?" "That depends on what kind of mine it is, and how much there is," Jun Changxiao said. Old Monster Su said, "According to the preliminary exploration of my sect's disciples, this should be a sand sculpture stone mine, about 300,000 caddies." Sand sculpture stone? It happened to be one of the necessities for refining equipment. There were many refining materials for the True Yang sword, cloud-piercing saber, and black iron shield, and sand sculpture stone was among them. This item was quite rare in the southwest Yangzhou, and it was mainly imported from the northern desert state. "Both of you," Jun Changxiao said, "what's the market price of sand sculpture stone?" 10,000 taels per caddy. 10,000 taels? Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. If he wanted to buy the mine at the market price, he would have to spend 3 billion. Of course, the great elder of the Azure Sand Sect said, June Patriarch wants to buy this mine. He definitely won't buy it at the market price. Particular, June Changshao said, both of you please give me a straightforward price. This, the great elder of the Azure Sand Sect and old monster Su looked at each other. Obviously, in terms of money, the conflict between the two seemed to have been resolved. The two sects were not willing to submit to each other for the sake of the mine. It was not a solution to continue like this. It was better to take a step back and sell the mine to June Changshao, then split the money equally. Since June Patriarch wants it so much, we'll give him 1 billion, old monster Su said. That's right. The Azure Sand Sect elder agreed. 1 billion for a sand sculpture stone mine of 300,000 caddies was really not expensive. It was mainly because of June Changshao's strength and the fact that he was the patriarch of the sect of all times. If it were any other sect, they would definitely not be able to take it away without 1.5 billion. It's too expensive. Too expensive? The Azure Sand Sect elder and old monster Su's mouths twitched. June Patriarch. 1 billion for a mine, we're already giving you a lot of face. How about this? June Changshao raised a finger and said, I'll give you 10,000. Shua. The great elder of the Azure Sand Sect stood up, unable to suppress his irritable temper, and said angrily, June Patriarch, you're sending a beggar away. Old monster Su's face also darkened. 10,000 taels for a sand sculpture stone mine. Did he think he was a fool? Don't misunderstand. June Changshao put his hands together on the table and said, the 10,000 I'm talking about is not silver, but 10,000 natural spirit stones. Chapter 674. 10,000 taels for a load. The Tsang Sand Sect's Grand Elder and old monster Su thought that this was an insult to their intelligence. However, when June Changshao explained that the 10,000 taels were not silver, but 10,000 natural spirit stones, they all widened their eyes. June Patriarch. Old monster Su thought he had heard wrongly and said, You mean? That's right. June Changshao said, 10,000 natural spirit stones. These calm words revealed a pretentious aura of wanting to beat him up. The expressions of old monster Su and the Tsang Sand Sect's Grand Elder changed, and then they looked at each other. 10,000 natural spirit stones were not much, but in terms of value, it was far more than 10,000 artificial spirit stones. As for the price, in the Falling Star continent, no one dared to casually use natural spirit stones as a currency, because this was the most precious martial arts resource in cultivation. An artificial spirit stone was worth around 10,000 taels. Natural spirit stones were many times more effective than the former, so it was possible to estimate the price. The two of you, June Changshao said, I don't like to waste time. If you feel that it's appropriate, quickly reach an agreement. Suitable. Old monster Su and the Tsang Sand Sect's Grand Elder said in unison. Both of them were Emperor stage experts, so they naturally knew that the value of natural spirit stones was far greater than money. Draw up the agreement. After doing business with AI Shangyao for a long time, June Patriarch also went through the proper procedures. Old monster Su and the Tsang Sand Sect's Grand Elder were both experienced businessmen. They quickly took out a piece of paper and began to write a business contract. Shua. June Changshao threw over 2 space rings and said, In order to prevent the two of you from arguing about the distribution, I will make the decision on my own. Each of you will have 5,000 natural spirit stones. Old monster Su and the Tsang Sand Sect's Grand Elder naturally did not care. After receiving the ring, they sent their consciousness into it and confirmed that the 5,000 spirit stones inside were pure natural. Then they happily signed and stamped their names. Such a small amount of spirit stones was enough to make the two Wu Huang overjoyed. The sect of all times could occasionally receive a certain amount of spirit stones to cultivate. How enviable was that? Seriously, the reason why the sect of all times was able to rise in such a short period of time was largely due to the discovery of the spirit stone vein in Mount Ironbone. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for them to achieve what they had today, just by relying on the spirit gathering formation and other martial arts facilities. June Patriarch. Old Monster Sue pointed ahead and said, "The mine is just a few dozen miles away." "Yes," Jun Changxiao nodded. Before coming to this area, he had already captured the existence of the mineral vein in advance. "The two of you," Jun Changxiao said. "Since the deal is done, there's no need for you to make such a big fuss. Why don't you all go back?" Jun Patriarch, the great elder of the Zhongshan sect, and Old Monster Sue stood up and cupped their hands. "We'll take our leave first. I won't see you out," Jun Changxiao said. Soon, the Azure Sand sect and Wind Riding sect left with their disciples and helpers. Along the way, they would definitely talk about how the patriarch of the sect of all times had come to the northern desert state from southwest Yangzhou, just to buy a mine with natural spiritual stones. Rich people are really capricious. With the departure of the martial artists from the various sects, the originally tense atmosphere in the area gradually returned to normal. TSK, the system said. It's hard to imagine that the host would use resources of equal value to buy a mine. Otherwise, Jun Changxiao said. The system said. I thought that the host would use his strength to make them willingly give up the mine for free. I thought about it too. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said. But the consequence of doing so would be to attract more trouble. With his current strength of the double emperor of sword and martial arts, it was not impossible to threaten the two sects to give up the mine. But it would also incur the wrath of the northern desert state, making enemies everywhere. That was not a wise move, the system said with emotion. The host has grown up and is sensible. To be exact, Jun Changxiao said, I have money. This made the system speechless. Fine. You have money. You are amazing. You can do whatever you want. Whoosh. Jun Changxiao flew up and landed in front of the newly opened mine entrance dozens of miles away. With a large amount of sand sculpture stones and other ores, I can mass-produce all kinds of weapons and equipment, he muttered as he walked into the mine. The mine was very deep. After walking for about a few hundred feet, he saw pieces of sand sculpture stones embedded in the cave walls. If not for the fact that the northern desert state had enough professional prospectors, even with strong spiritual senses, it would be impossible to find the ores underground. Whoosh, whoosh. Jun Changxiao released his spiritual senses, which seemed to have turned into a large hand, gently peeling off the sand sculpture stones and storing them in the interspatial ring. Mining ores was a technical job. Even Jun Changxiao, who was the double emperor of sword and martial arts, could not do it casually. Therefore, it took a few days to dig out all the sand sculpture stones in the cave. Just as Jun Changxiao was about to abandon the mine, he suddenly found a three-colored ore at the bottom of the mine. Tricolor stone, the system said. Jun Changxiao dug it out and found that there were many more. He asked in surprise, Is there more than one type of ore in this mine? The system said. The northern desert state's underground ores are very rich. It is not surprising that there are many types of ores in this mine. Jun Changxiao laughed. 10,000 natural spirit stones for two types of ores did not seem to be a loss. The tricolor stone is of the holy grade, the system said. Holy grade? Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. Then I must have made a fortune. Although the tricolor stone was not a material needed to refine equipment like the true Yang sword, it was still a very high grade, or at the holy grade. Dig. Jun Changxiao continued to mine. 3 days later, he had dug out 50,000 pounds of tricolor stone. Jun Changxiao thought that was the end. However, he continued to mine downwards and to the left and right. He found a few more ores of different grades. Among them, there was an ore that happened to be compatible with refining equipment. The system said. The two sects probably did not expect that this seemingly small mine actually hid so many different types of ores. If they had thought of it, how could I have picked it up with just 10,000 spirit stones? Jun Chang laughed. The main reason was that the sand sculpture stone was at the top, successfully hiding the aura of the other ores. The two sects' exploration teams did not find any other types of ores. Sect Master Jun could be considered to have picked up a bargain when it came to a small mineral vein that actually hid a profound mystery. A few days later, this small mine was completely dug out. Jun Changxiao tried to search for a while more, After confirming that there were no more ores, he left reluctantly. After a round of inventory, he found a total of 6 types of ores in the mine. The sand sculpture stone was the most abundant. The other ores weighed around 50,000 to 60,000 pounds. The tricolor stone was of the highest grade. If he bought it, he could make up for June Patriarch's loss of 10,000 spirit stones. Of course, he would definitely not sell it. Maybe in the future, he would need this kind of holy grade ores for equipment recipes. It's been half a month. After walking out of the mine, Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "The sects that fought before should have recovered their ores supply. I can go to Yellow Sand City to take a look." Whoosh, using the power of flight, he headed to Yellow Sand City at the fastest speed. Chapter 675. When Jun Changshao first came to Yellow Sand City, there were very few martial artists in the city. The streets were covered with yellow sand, as if it was an abandoned ancient city. When he came the second time, there were many martial artists in different clothes walking on the main street, and the closed-door shops were already overcrowded. The Azure Sand Sect and the Wind Riding Sect had been fighting for so long that the entire industry was paralyzed. Now that the conflict had been resolved, it was natural for business to resume as usual. The forces from the other provinces had always been short of supplies. Knowing that everything had been restored, they would definitely spare no effort to purchase. Every shop was filled with forces from other provinces. They were currently bargaining with each other, and their faces were flushed with anger. Those who did not know would think that there was going to be a conflict, and that there would be a fight at any time. It's quite lively. Jun Changshao stopped at an shop. Before he walked in, the passers-by all looked at him with disdain. Jun Changshao was in a hurry to come to Yellow Sand City to purchase ores, so he did not pay attention to his appearance. At this moment, he was covered in dust and looked like a miner. In fact, he was a miner. After all, he had been mining alone for half a month. In this world, miners were the same as servants and maids. They belonged to the lower 9 classes. Suddenly appearing in a high-end business street, they would naturally be ostracized. Jun Changshao did not care about the gazes of others. He walked into the ore shop with his head held high. Hey, this little miner is quite arrogant. Everyone muttered in their hearts. Shopkeeper. After entering the ore shop, Jun Changshao took out a list of materials and said, "Does your shop have these ores?" The shopkeeper looked up and said, "Do you not know how to look?" The shop had just opened, and there were too many martial artists from the other provinces who came to purchase ores. It was too busy, so it was naturally difficult to pay attention to a miner. As expected, clothes make the man, saddle makes the horse. If June Patriarch changed into decent clothes and used magic hair gel to make his hair shiny, he would definitely be recognized as a rich young master from a large family. All right. Jun Changshao looked around the shop. There were many ores of different quality on the shelves, and there were some that he needed. Shopkeeper. Jun Changshao picked up a piece of ore and asked, "How much of this ore do you have?" The shopkeeper said, "A total of 20,000 caddies." 20,000 caddies is fine. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, "I want all of them." These words were spoken very loudly, and the cultivators from the various provinces who were present to pick the ores heard them clearly. All of them? Everyone looked over. The look in his eyes seemed to be saying, "Brother, the level of this ore is not low. Can you afford it?" Brat. At this moment, a man who had just entered said, "My Scarlet Fire Sect will take all of these 20,000 kilograms of spiritual star stones." Scarlet Fire Sect? The warriors in the shop immediately showed respect in their eyes. The Crimson Fire Sect was a 4th-rate sect in the northwestern He province. Their overall strength was about the same as the Azure Sand Sect. It was said that they were inextricably linked to the 2nd-rate Crimson Flame Sacred Sect. Elder Chui. The shopkeeper hurriedly walked out of the counter and said with a trembling smile, "How come you have the time to personally purchase ores?" From being neither cold nor indifferent to grinning from ear to ear, the speed at which he changed his expression could be said to be super fast. Jun Changshao was speechless. "Fuck, this is too realistic." "Sorry," Jun Changshao said. "I saw the spiritual star stones first. If you want to buy them, go to another shop and look around. Heh, this brat was quite arrogant. Elder Chui of the Crimson Fire Sect's face instantly darkened. If it were other sects or forces, he might give in. However, a dirty miner was actually so uncooperative. He really could not tolerate it. Dear customer, the shopkeeper said, my shop has a contract with the Crimson Fire Sect. We have the priority to purchase any ores. Jun Changxiao said, if that's the case, why are you putting the ores out for sale? This, don't explain. Jun Changxiao said, since it's on the shelf, it's for everyone. It has to be first come, first served. Spiritual star stones were one of the necessities for refining equipment. He would not give in. Brat, Elder Chui said in a low voice. Are you looking for trouble? I'm looking for trouble? Jun Changxiao shrugged and said, everyone, you can judge who's looking for trouble. The corners of everyone's mouths twitched. The agreement between the ore shop and the Crimson Fire Sect for the priority to purchase the ores was made up by the shopkeeper. His goal was to sell the ores to Elder Chui. In theory, it was reasonable to sell the ores to this dirty fellow since he came first. However, to snatch ores from a fourth-rate sect, wasn't that just courting death? Brat. Elder Chui's face darkened. Which sect are you from? Elder Chui was worried that this fellow's background was not ordinary, since he dared to go against him. Hence he asked in advance. Jun Changxiao seemed to have seen through his intentions. He did not say that he was from the sect of all times. Instead, he said indifferently, I don't belong to any sect. I'm just an itinerant cultivator. Elder Chui pointed at the door and said coldly, scram. With that one word, the aura of a martial king spread out. The ore shop was instantly filled with killing intent. Elder Chui, calm down. Calm down. The shopkeeper hurriedly calmed down. Chapter 676. The fact that Jun Changxiao was willing to spend money to buy the mineral veins meant that he did not like to use violence to solve everything. However, this did not mean that he was honest. Elder Chui of the Crimson Fire Sect did not care about who came first, and insisted on using his status to buy the mineral veins that he wanted. Therefore, he could only reveal his brutal side. To be honest, from the beginning, Elder Chui had been challenging Jun Changxiao's temper. No one in the world could save him. It was very accurate. However, Elder Chui was the one who could not be saved. He wanted to try and get the spiritual star stone. He had to die immediately. The martial artists present did not see Jun Changxiao's attack, as it was too swift and decisive. However, this did not stop them from feeling shocked and terrified. He killed a martial king in one move. This guy who looked like a miner was actually a hidden expert. It was no wonder he dared to go against the elder of the Crimson Fire Sect. It was no wonder he could remain so calm after releasing the aura of a martial king. In the outside world, when the martial artists saw Elder Chui lying on the ground without any signs of life, they all widened their eyes. I've long heard that the northern desert states' martial artists are hot-tempered and would fight at the slightest disagreement. Today, I've seen that they live up to their reputation. The one who died was an elder of the Crimson Fire Sect. His cultivation had reached the level of a martial king. It can't be. Who is this young man? He doesn't look familiar. He shouldn't be from the northern desert state. Not from the area. Shopkeeper Hao has already used a voice transmission jade to inform the Azure Sand Sect Patriarch. He should be here soon. An elder of the Crimson Fire Sect was killed in his own shop. This is definitely going to be a big deal. The martial artists from the various states who were here to purchase the mineral veins gathered at the entrance of the shop. They had forgotten the purpose of their visit and were all spectators. This matter was not over yet. When the Azure Sand Sect Patriarch arrived, it would definitely be more lively. Call for help. Sure. Jun Changxiao sat at the counter in the shop and said, then let's wait and see if the sect in charge of the shop is willing to sell my mineral veins. He was still so arrogant after killing someone. The martial artists who were watching the commotion were full of admiration. As for shopkeeper Hao, he was so frightened that his legs turned to jelly. A Crimson Fire Sect elder had died in the store. If they were to pursue the matter, losing their positions was a small matter, but losing their heads was a big matter. Shua. Shua. Not long after, the patriarch of the Azure Sand Sect, Feng Feisha, hurried to the scene of the incident with several disciples. The ore store opened once again, and many big customers came to purchase from it. He just so happened to be busy socializing in Yellow Sand City. It's not. At noon, he even had a drink with a few big shots from other counties. He had already woken up, but he couldn't understand why shopkeeper How would suddenly send a message saying that something big had happened. What was it? Could it be that the people from the Wind Riding Sect were here to cause trouble? The Wind Patriarch is here. The cultivators gathered outside the door to watch. The excitement quickly opened up a path. Feng Feisha walked straight ahead. Before he even entered the ore store, his spiritual senses were the first to spread out. He caught a glimpse of a person lying inside, and his expression changed drastically. Wasn't this the Scarlet Fire Sect's Elder Chui? Why is he lying on the floor of my shop? Did he drink too much? No. There was no sign of life. Dead. Feng Feisha almost jumped up in shock. The Azure Sand Sect and the Crimson Fire Sect were old business partners. Now that Elder Chui had died in the ore store, this was a very serious problem. Shua. Feng Feisha quickened his pace and stepped into the store. He said angrily, "How Jianzhong, what is going on?" Seeing this, the cultivators outside the door immediately realized that the show was about to begin. The perpetrator didn't take the opportunity to slip away, and even sat on the counter in a high-profile manner. He was truly an admirable man of steel. The patriarch, shopkeeper Hao, instantly revived on the spot with full health and said, "It's him. He killed Elder Chui." Feng Feisha looked in the direction of the finger, and his eyes immediately locked onto Jun Changxiao, who was sitting on the counter. He said angrily, "Brat, how dare you in my shop?" He spoke very quickly at first, but when he saw the person's face, he suddenly slowed down and exclaimed, "Jun Patriarch. Half a month ago, he was also at Concave Sand Dune, so he naturally recognized the patriarch of the sect of all times." The patriarch? That guy is the sect master. The cultivators outside, who were watching the show, were all surprised. Jun Changxiao said, "If I remember correctly, you should be the patriarch of the Azure Sand Sect, right?" That's right. Feng Feisha hurriedly smiled and said, "This humble one is Feng Feisha, the patriarch of the Azure Sand Sect." The originally furious face suddenly turned into a cheeky smile, which made shopkeeper Hao and the other cultivators widen their eyes. Could it be this brat is very capable? Jun Changxiao said. Jun would like to ask Patriarch Feng if the sect has set up a preemptive right with the Crimson Fire Sect? Preemptive right? Feng Feisha said with a blank face. No. Shopkeeper Hao suffered another blow to his soul. He was paralyzed on the ground, and his face was extremely pale. The fact that the patriarch was so afraid of this young man meant that not only was he powerful, but he was also very capable. Shopkeeper Hao is most likely doomed today. Big brother, if you are so awesome, why don't you dress up nicely and come in looking like a miner? Aren't you just looking for trouble? Since there is no preemptive right, Jun would like to ask if the two of us have taken a liking to the ores. Is there a first come first serve? Jun Changxiao asked. Of course, Feng Feisha said. Jun Changxiao pointed at Elder Chui and said, Jun came first, so he came later. Who should the ores be sold to? This. Feng Feisha hesitated for a moment and said, I will definitely sell it to Jun Patriarch, who came first. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the side quest. You have gained 2,000 contribution points. Ding. Contribution points. 198,992,0000. Nice, Jun Changxiao said to himself. When Elder Chui forcefully bought the ores, the system had already given him a side quest. The content was let the Patriarch of the Azure Sand Sect come and judge who should buy the Spirit Star ores. This quest was a little tricky. Jun Patriarch was stunned for a moment before he took action to deal with Elder Chui. When he came in, he already knew that the shop was run by the Azure Sand Sect, so he made a big deal out of it and alarmed the Patriarch. However, wasn't he too heavy-handed? Hearing Jun Changxiao's words, Feng Feisha also realized that Elder Chui must have had a conflict with him over the purchase of ores and was killed. Brother Chui, You could have provoked anyone, but you had to provoke the patriarch of the sect of all times. If he could come back to life, Brother Chui would definitely cry and say, I fucking didn't know that he was the patriarch of the sect of all times. Jun Changshao said. The spirit star ores were first seen by Jun. Are you going to sell it to the patriarch? Buy. Feng Feisha said without hesitation. Since the Grand Elder and that old monster Su were so respectful, he definitely did not dare to be negligent. Your shopkeeper lied and said that he had the right to buy the ores first and did not want to sell them to Jun. This is a bit of a bully, Jun Changshao said. Feng Feisha anxiously said. This Feng will definitely deal with it seriously. Shopkeeper Hao's face became even paler, and he realized that he was really unlucky today. Jun Changshao said. Jun is not a person who holds grudges. The corners of the martial artist's mouths twitched. That's right, you don't hold grudges, because the elder Chui you have a grudge with has already been killed. How about this? Jun Changshao said. 20,000 kilograms of spirit star ores. Jun will buy it for 10 silver taels. Does Patriarch Feng have any objections? 10 taels? Everyone almost fell. With this price, it wouldn't even be enough to go out and drink a cup of tea. Pa. Jun Changshao put 10 silver taels on the counter and said, if Patriarch Feng cannot make the decision, you can invite the Grand Elder over. Jun does not mind having a chat with him at the table. Although these words were said gently, Feng Feisha could hear that it was a warning. If he did not agree, he would call the Grand Elder over for a discussion. Jun Patriarch, Feng Feisha said seriously. Talking about money will hurt feelings. 20,000 kilograms of spirit star ores. This Feng will give it to you for free. Chapter 677. Feng Feisha was also a smart person. Jun Changshao was covered in dust and looked like a miner. Shopkeeper Hao must have looked down on him, which was why he purposely said something about priority purchase. As for the conflict with Elder Chui, it must have been because of this. 20,000 caddies of spiritual star stones wasn't too expensive. In order to appease Jun Changshao, Feng Feisha was naturally willing to give it away for free. The martial artists outside were dumbfounded. Who exactly was this kid to make the patriarch of the Tsongsha sect be so careful and even give away the stones for free? Thank you. Jun Changshao took back the 10 taels of silver. Look. Didn't he just earn back a little of the 10,000 natural spiritual stones he lost earlier? System. Using the system's mission as an excuse to extort ores from others. Was this guy's face made of stone? Hurry up and prepare the spiritual star stones. Feng Feisha glared at Shopkeeper Hao. Yes. Yes. Shopkeeper Hao went to prepare the stones in fear. Soon, he handed over the ring with the spiritual star stones. Remember. Jun Changshao took the ring and said, we are all customers. Don't treat them differently. Remember. Beads of cold sweat dripped from Shopkeeper Hao's forehead. His hands were trembling violently. If he could survive and still be a shopkeeper, he would never dare to look down on customers who came to buy things. Patriarch Feng, Jun Changshao said, where is the Riding Wind Sect's shop? The one with the best decoration in the north is the Riding Wind Sect's or shop. Feng Feisha said, goodbye. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and left the ore shop under everyone's gaze. Phew. Feng Feisha raised his hand and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Losing a few spiritual star stones was nothing. As long as he didn't provoke that guy, he was lucky. Patriarch. Shopkeeper Hao said with a trembling voice. What about Elder Chui's body? Speaking of Elder Chui, Feng Feisha's face turned ugly. Although he was killed by Jun Changshao, he died in his own shop. How was he going to explain it to the Crimson Fire sect? Don't care about him. I will take care of you first. Feng Feisha angrily said. Since this had happened, the person responsible must be found. Shopkeeper Hao was about to cry as he said, Patriarch, I. Whoosh! Just then, a ray of light flew in from outside and hit Elder Chui with great precision. Feng Feisha's expression changed drastically. The sudden stream of light was too fast for him to catch. If it was a hidden weapon attacking him, the consequences would be unimaginable. Wow! Suddenly, Elder Chui spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he gasped for air as if he had almost suffocated to death. Feeling his life force gradually emerging, Feng Feisha was shocked. "You're still alive?" "That's right. Elder Cui was still alive." It was nothing more than Jun Changxiao's fist hitting the vital meridian, binding his entire body into a state of suspended animation. Now that the side quest was completed, and he didn't have to spend any money to get the ore, this guy who had nothing better to do could be considered to have completed his mission. Few Elder Cui regained his composure. Enduring the excruciating pain, he asked, "Feng Patriarch, who is that guy?" He still had his hearing even when he was dead. It was undeniable that the kid was very strong, but he couldn't take a punch for no reason. Feng Feisha saw the hatred in Elder Cui's eyes. He shook his head and said, "Elder Cui, I suggest that you and your sect don't mess with him. Otherwise, even if you have the support of the blazing holy sect, it won't do." This sentence surprised the martial artists who had not left. Even a second-rate sect couldn't do it? This guy called Jun Patriarch, did he have a lot of power? Patriarch Feng. Elder Cui was stunned. Who is he? The patriarch of the sect of all times. Feng Feisha said with a serious expression. Jun Changxiao. What? Elder Cui almost jumped up in shock. He's the sect leader of the top 3 sects? He asked in shock. Oh my god. That young man just now was Jun Changxiao. No wonder Patriarch Feng was so polite when he saw him. The martial artists on the street widened their eyes. Who in the northern desert state hadn't heard of the sect of all times? They especially remembered that not long ago, they had trampled the Lily Holy Sect under their feet. The anger on Elder Cui's face disappeared instantly. Even a second-rate sect had been defeated. His fourth-rate Crimson Fire sect didn't have the courage to face the sect of all times. Therefore, he was almost killed by a punch. He had suffered a loss. While everyone was still in shock, Jun Changxiao was already sitting in the VIP area of the Riding Wind Sect's store. A beautiful woman handed him a cup of tea with a smile on her face. Jun Patriarch. The Riding Wind Sect's sect master smiled. What do you lack? As long as we have it, we'll sell it to you first. He was also in Yellow Sand City. Knowing that someone had committed a crime in the ore store next door, he came to watch the show. To be exact, he came to laugh at the Azure Sand sect. But he never expected that the perpetrator was Jun Changxiao. When he walked out and said that he wanted to come to his own store, he was very enthusiastic. At the same time, he was secretly glad that he went to the Azure Sand Sect store first. Otherwise, his own shopkeeper wouldn't have treated him well. Sect Master Song. Jun Changxiao handed over the list and said, Do you have these ores? Sect Master Song took it and looked at it carefully, then said, Jun Patriarch, we have all these ores, but there aren't many of them. I'll take all of them, Jun Changxiao said. Sect Master Song said, Please wait a moment. I'll order people to prepare them. With Feng Feisha as an example, when all the ores were prepared, he took the initiative to say, Jun Patriarch is in charge of a large sect at such a young age. I admire you, so I'll give all these ores to you for free. Please don't mind. He knew how to do things. Thank you. Jun Changxiao didn't stand on ceremony, and shamelessly accepted all the space rings. He cupped his hands and said, Patriarch Song, Jun needs more ores. Why don't our 2 sects establish a partnership? He would only need more ores in the future. He couldn't come to the northern desert state to buy every day, so he had to find a business partner, like the AI family, to stabilize the ore supply. Sure, Sect Master Song said. To be able to take out 10,000 natural spirit stones, so casually, this Jun Patriarch definitely didn't lack money. If they really established a business relationship, it would definitely be very profitable. Jun Changxiao pointed at the list and said, Soon, my sect of all times will open branches in the northern desert state. At that time, if there are business dealings, I'll let them take the initiative to contact me. You're welcome at any time. Sect Master Song said so, but in his heart he was stunned. He actually wants to open a branch in the northern desert state. Is he trying to build a network across the entire continent? Not only did Jun Changxiao want to build enough branches in the various states and counties, but he also wanted to open up beast material stores everywhere. Actually, beast material stores could also be used as intelligence points. However, the branches could not only obtain intelligence, but also recruit many itinerant cultivators. Therefore, he made a separate division. Those in charge of intelligence would continue to do so, and those making money would continue to make money. He had to do both. I'll take my leave. Jun Changshao left the ore store and went to a few other stores. The other ore stores were called over by the Azure Sand Sect and the Wind Riding Sect. Therefore, when he visited them one by one, he was treated as a VIP. Jun Patriarch, don't talk about money. Jun Patriarch, these ores can't be sold anyway. Since you need them, I'll give them all to you. Jun Patriarch, please take back the money. Jun Patriarch. Gosheng visited a few ore stores and accumulated a lot of materials needed to refine weapons and equipment in his interspatial ring. How wonderful. Sigh. Walking on the street, Jun Patriarch said awkwardly, the sects in the northern desert state are too polite. They don't want money for this and that. I'm a little embarrassed. Just a little? The system couldn't take it anymore. Tui. Chapter 678. It wasn't that the sects of the northern desert state were being courteous, but that Jun Changshao had gone to mediate the fight. The shock of fighting two Wu Huang's saint-level martial arts was too great. If the previous rumors about the Eternal Sect were just hearsay, then the experts of the 10 great sects, including the Azure Sand Sect, saw it with their own eyes. As long as they didn't do anything too outrageous, they would definitely try their best to curry favor with them. Furthermore, the ores Jun Changshao bought were rare in other states, but very common in the northern desert state. The sects naturally wouldn't care. Using ores to gain favor with the top 3 sects was definitely worth it. Of course, Jun Patriarch wasn't really shameless. At night, he held a banquet in the best restaurant in Yellow Sand City, inviting the sect leaders who gave him the ores. Some of the Patriarch weren't in the city. After receiving the news, they immediately put down everything and came to the banquet. At that moment, on the 3rd floor of the brightly lit restaurant, the leaders of the top 10 sects who mainly dealt in ores gathered. It was a bit funny. Half a month ago, they were still divided into 2 camps, fighting over ores. But now they were sitting together peacefully. The banquet began. Jun Patriarch raised his cup to thank them one by one. At the same time, he hoped to establish business relations with the top 10 sects and send different ores to the sect of all times every once in a while. Sect leader Song was a bit depressed. He originally thought that it was only his sect doing business with the sect of all times. He didn't expect the other sects to have a share as well. No problem, Feng Feisha said straightforwardly. The other sects all agreed. In their eyes, the benefits of doing business with the sect of all times were secondary. The real benefit was to establish a relationship. Top 3 potential, currently in the limelight. They would definitely curry favor with such a sect instead of offending them. Of course, Jun Changshao said. Jun won't mistreat anyone. No matter how much ores there are, I'll buy them at market price. He sincerely wanted to do business because the sect of all times still needed to develop in the future. If others could give him face and give him free ores, why would they give him free ores every time? Fists would only make others submit, not convince others, so he had to follow the rules. Come, let's do it. Come. Jun Changshao and the upper echelons of the northern desert state were drinking and having fun. If the elders of the various sects in the northwest He Prefecture, the northeast Lu Prefecture, and even the eastern Hao Prefecture saw this, they would definitely have the urge to cry. In our earth domain, he was either causing trouble or challenging others. Even his disciples dared to flaunt their prowess in the royal city. Why is it that when he is in the northern desert region, he is indulging in debauchery with the elders of the various sects? I thought this guy would be a troublemaker, but I guessed wrong, the system said helplessly. Based on its understanding of Jun Changshao, if it were to recklessly mediate the fight, the most serious consequence would be that it would become the enemy of the entire northern desert state. Going to Lu Prefecture in the northeast and eastern Haozhou in the east were examples. And the result? Not only did he get along well with the sects of the northern desert state, He even almost became sworn brothers on the spot. This man is too hard to guess, the system said. Ding! Ding! After a round of drinking, Jun Changxiao heard the notification that the equipment had been refined. The ores he obtained for free from the various ore shops could be used to refine quite a few true yang swords, black iron shields, and other equipment. Phew! Jun Changxiao used his spiritual energy to force out the alcohol and said to himself, "It's time to return. Everyone." He swallowed his dantian and shouted, "Jun will be leaving first." His voice pierced through the clouds and reverberated in half of the northern desert state, waking up many martial artists who were in deep sleep. Who left? Many people were confused. Whoosh! Jun Changxiao flew through the sky with the little dragon in his arms. There was a smile on his face as he faced the wind. Feng Feisha and Sect leader Song watched him leave and said, "That guy finally left." They were very familiar with Jun Changxiao's matters, and had also concluded from their experience that was as long as he went to other regions, something bad would definitely happen. In Lu region in the northeast, he caused trouble for the extreme coldness palace. In eastern Hao region, not only did he cause trouble for the Lily Saint sect, but he also caused trouble for other sections. Therefore, when he appeared in the northern desert state in Yellow Sand City, Feng Feisha and the others immediately became nervous. They were afraid that if they did not treat him well, something would happen again. The Crimson Fire sect's elder Cui was almost killed. All in all, the sects that understood Jun Changxiao firmly believed that this guy should not be provoked. In the sect of all times, the most irritated person was Yi Xingchen. In the past half a month, Hui'er did not pester him, and was completely transparent. The main reason was that Night Emperor had a fiancée for no reason, which made him really unhappy. In his previous life he was hurt by a woman. In this life he would not make the same mistake again. Huff huff. Yi Xingchen was in the 5th level of the training tower, enduring the torture of his soul to maintain absolute calmness and cold-bloodedness. Don't deliberately pursue martial arts, and don't pretend to be cold-blooded. Experience the 7 emotions and 6 desires, and enjoy life, is actually another kind of cultivation. Jun Changxiao's words suddenly rang in his ears. 7 emotions and 6 desires? Yi Xingchen clenched his fist and said with a cold gaze, "I don't need it." The corrosion of his soul reached its peak, and he finally could not hold on any longer. He let out a tragic cry. The next day, Jun Changxiao returned to the sect. As for the matter between Yi Xingchen and Hui'er, he chose to wait and see. In fact, after guessing that this disciple might be a reincarnated expert, Jun Patriarch could understand why he did not choose to accept this additional fiancé. Yi Xingchen was Yi Xingchen, not Pei Aniu. Since there were no feelings between the two, there would naturally not be any results. Qingyang. Jun Changxiao sat in the hall and said, "Did anything happen while I was gone?" Patriarch. Li Qingyang said, "Everything is normal." "Oh." Jun Changxiao responded and said, "Oh right, I remember that you also have a sweetheart." "Yes," Li Qingyang said. His sweetheart was also an ordinary girl. Her father and family had never accepted her, and had always tried their best to stop them. "Now that you're a martial king, why don't you look for her?" Jun Changxiao said. "I'm not strong enough." Li Qingyang said. "I hope to break through to a higher level." Jun Changxiao walked down and patted him on the shoulder, encouraging him, "Work hard." After returning to the sect, Jun Changxiao called Li Luoqiu over to discuss plans to continue expanding the branch, especially the northern desert state. The northern desert state is too far from the southwest Yangzhou. "This will take some time," Li Luoqiu said. "Yes," Jun Changxiao said. "The beast material store also needs to be expanded. The sect needs more funds." After making a deal with the sect in the northern desert state, buying ores would definitely require a large amount of money, so there must be an absolute guarantee in this regard. "Yes," Li Luoqiu nodded. Li Qingyang was in charge of internal affairs, and she was in charge of external affairs. Jiangya, the Ning brothers, and the other F4 members of the sect of all times focused on teaching disciples. Speaking of teaching, it reminded me of Shengguan Xinyao. This 100,000 wise. While studying formations, she also studied martial arts. During this time, she also created many martial skills. Jun Changshao told her to save up first. When she had enough, she would help to perfect them all, and then exchange them for martial skills in the cultivation technique pavilion. Ding! Ding! Inside the martial skill pavilion, the refined True Yang sword, cloud-piercing blade, and black iron shield were all placed inside. There were quite a few of them, at least 1,000 of them. Jun Changshao set the price, and told the disciples that if they wanted to obtain them, they could exchange for them with the contribution points from completing missions. Just like that, everyone was even more motivated to do missions. Sigh. After everything was done, Jun Changshao leaned on the chair in the main hall and stretched. It's still a long time before the dragon and tiger fight for hegemony. Are we just going to wait like this? Chapter 679. Jun Changshao stuffed all the weapons and equipment into the weapon machine and marked the price. If the disciples wanted to get them, they could only do sect missions to earn contribution points. The sect of all times was now on the right track in terms of sect missions. There were disciples going in and out of the mission pavilion every day, because they were not related to sect construction missions. Even if they were completed, they would only be rewarded with contribution points. Jun Changshao did not get any rewards. It did not matter. As long as the disciples could benefit from the missions, he did not care. Junior brother Xiao, Su Xiaoma said, "Let's go do the missions?" High-level inner sect disciples, like them, would occasionally go to the mission pavilion to clear the high-level missions. Because the difficulty was too high, ordinary inner sect and outer sect disciples could not solve it. "Let's go," Xiao Ziji agreed. After settling the grudge with Murong Xian, although he was still cultivating desperately, his mentality was much more relaxed than before. "Should we call junior brother Yi?" Su Xiaoma said. Xiao Ziji said, "He's not in a good mood recently. I think we should forget about it." Su Xiaoma said helplessly, "He has such a beautiful fiancée, but he always has a sour face. Junior brother Yi doesn't know how lucky he is. Maybe he has his reasons." As the two talked, they had already entered the mission pavilion. At this moment, many disciples were gathered in front of the mission board, looking at the dazzling variety of missions. "Second senior brother," Su Xiaoma shouted. "You're here too?" "Yes." Li Qingyang crossed his arms and said, "There's a 6-star mission recently. Do you want to do it together?" 6-star? Su Xiaoma hurriedly looked at the mission board. Usually, the most difficult mission on the mission board was only 5-star. It was very rare for a 6-star mission to appear. As expected, at the top of the list, a 6-star mission was listed. The mission was to eradicate the Black Dragon Evil Sect at the border of the Southern Barren State. Black Dragon Evil Sect? Su Xiaoma touched his chin and said, "Evil forces? Do you want to go or not?" Li Qingyang asked. "Go," Xiao Ziji and Su Xiaoma said in unison. "All right." Li Qingyang clicked on the button to accept the mission, but it indicated that the difficulty of the mission was very high and required 5 disciples to accept it. 5 disciples? Su Xiaoma said in surprise. "Looks like this mission is a bit unusual. I'm going too." He woody walked over from behind. Jun Changshao placed all kinds of weapons in the weapon machine. When he saw them, he felt an itch in his heart. So he decided to do missions to earn contribution points to exchange for them. "Sure," Li Qingyang said. "We're still missing one. Second senior brother." Yao Minjing raised her hand and shouted, "Can I go with you?" This, Li Qingyang furrowed his brows. "Is that okay?" Yao Minjing's big eyes were pleading, and her small appearance made it hard for anyone to refuse. "Junior sister, you can go." "Thank you, second senior." However, Li Qingyang added, "You must control your aura and not release it casually." Yao Minjing said. "I will control it." "Let's go." After gathering 5 people, Li Qingyang accepted the mission to eliminate the evil Black Dragon sect. However, as he was a steady person, he didn't immediately go down the mountain. Instead, he went to the Drizzle Hall to collect information about this evil sect. "Evil Black Dragon sect?" Li Luoqia rubbed her chin and said, a fifth-rate evil sect in the southern desolate province. The patriarch is a rank 5 martial king. He has 4 elders under him, and they are all martial kings. As for disciples, they have about 4 to 5,000 people. Li Qingyang said, there are actually 5 martial kings. No wonder it's a 6-star mission. This evil sect is not simple, Li Luoqiu said. As far as I know, they cultivate a special evil technique that can rapidly increase their cultivation. Is that so? Li Qingyang frowned. Moreover, Li Luoqiu said, the evil technique they cultivate is mainly to extract human blood. Su Xiaoma said in surprise, so cruel? More than just cruel, Li Luoqiu said. In recent years, many villagers in the southern desolate province disappeared overnight. Their whereabouts are still unknown. Li Qingyang frowned. Is it the evil Black Dragon sect? Li Luoqiu shook her head and said, there is not enough evidence to prove it. However, many sects in the southern desolate province guessed it was them. TSK, Su Xiaoma said, this is truly a cruel evil sect. So, Jun Changshao walked into the drizzle hall and said, that's why it appeared on the mission board as a mission. Patriarch. The disciples hurriedly bowed. Jun Changshao said, the sects in the southern desolate province do not have evidence and do not dare to take action. Let the sect of all times do it for the heavens. I'll leave this mission to you guys. You must eliminate them. Yes, Li Qingyang, Xiao Zuiji, and the others said in unison. They walked out of the drizzle hall and called the hurricane wolf over. Before leaving, Jun Changshao said, when dealing with the evil sect, there is no need to be open and aboveboard. As long as you can get rid of them, you can use any method. For example, he looked at Xiao Ziji and said, field cannon. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma's mouths twitched. The overbearing field cannon that the patriarch gave Xiao Ziji almost blew up the 4th-rate extreme cold palace. Dealing with a 5th-rate evil sect would be a piece of cake. Patriarch, I understand. Xiao Ziji said. Go and come back quickly. Jun Changshao said. Do not waste time. Yes. Li Qingyang ordered and left the sect of all times on the Hurricane Wolf with his 4 junior brothers. Patriarch. Li Luoqiu, who was standing behind, said, Menjing is also going. I'm afraid it is a bit inappropriate. Jun Changshao said, the day will come when a baby eagle will leave its mother's embrace and learn to use its own wings to fly in the sky. All right. Li Luoqiu did not say anything else. Jun Changshao said, how are the preparations for the Northern Desert Province branch? They have arrived and are choosing locations in the various provinces, Li Luoqiu said. Okay. The border of the Southern Desolate Province was a long stretch of deep forest. Because of the environment, it was very damp and dark. Whoosh, whoosh, for silhouettes flew over and landed on a large tree like ghosts. Not far in front of them, there was a group of buildings by the mountain. It was brightly lit, and there were occasional noises. The signboard hanging on the buildings was engraved with the words Black Dragon Evil Sect. Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma said telepathically, this is the place. Li Qingyang released his spiritual sense. As soon as it entered the sect, it was bounced back by a force. He frowned and said, there is a sect protecting formation. Yao Menjing said, where is senior brother Xiao? Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and He Wudi were present. Xiao Ziji was the only one missing. Junior sister. Su Xiaoma pointed in a direction behind and smiled. He is there. Yao Menjing looked over and saw senior brother Xiao on the high slope. She was puzzled. Why is he not coming over? Junior sister. Su Xiaoma said, you must cover your ears later. If you can't, then seal your hearing temporarily. Yao Menjing was puzzled. Whoosh. Xiao Ziji, who was behind them, waved his hand and summoned the field cannon. He then put his foot on the barrel and aimed the cannon at the evil dragon evil sect. Everyone seal your hearing, Li Qingyang said telepathically. Su Xiaoma had already completely sealed his hearing before he said that. He even subconsciously covered his ears. Yao Menjing was puzzled, but since her senior brother said so, she would definitely do it. So, she sealed her hearing and covered her ears, staring at the field cannon. What is that? He Wudi was also looking at the field cannon. Bang! Fuck! My ears! Chapter 680. Jun Changshao handed the field artillery to Xiao Ziji. This 2nd Battalion commander fully utilized the highly lethal weapon, especially when he put his foot on the barrel. He was so handsome that no one could compare to him. After a simple check, he fired the artillery. It was extremely fast. The artillery shell was condensed by a high-grade crystal core, and its power was even stronger than the explosion at the extreme cold palace. Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and Yao Minjing had blocked their hearing, so they were not affected. He Wudi, who was unprepared, was so shocked that his ears were buzzing, and the blood in his body seemed to be boiling. When he saw the light shooting out of the cannon, shaking the space and leaving long traces in the air, he was so shocked that his eyes almost popped out. What kind of treasure is this? It can burst out such a strong power. Although he had been cultivating in the sect for a long time, he had never seen such a high-tech product from another civilization. Boom! The artillery shell drew an arc and blasted into the sky above the evil black dragon sect with a thunderous force. The space shook violently, and the invisible protector sect was instantly shattered into nothingness. Even the 4th-rate extreme cold palace's array could not withstand it, let alone a 5th-rate evil sect. However, the first artillery shell only shattered the array, and did not affect the evil black dragon sect. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, streams of black light flew out. They were the 5 martial king experts led by the patriarch of the evil black dragon sect. If a terrifying force suddenly broke the formation, they definitely wouldn't be indifferent. What a strong evil aura! Yao Minjing's eyes lit up, and she was eager to fight. During this period, she had been cultivating the Bloody Cloud scripture, and had become a genuine evil cultivator. She was very sensitive to martial artists with similar attributes. In theory, evil cultivators were actually a branch of evil cultivators. Because their path was not so extreme, they were able to survive in the falling star continent. Li Qingyang saw the fighting spirit in Yao Minjing's eyes and said, "Junior sister, you just need to watch. Leave these people to me." Okay. Yao Minjing nodded. Even if she really wanted to fight with the heretic cultivator, she would still listen to her senior brother, and suppress the urge to do so. Go. As soon as Li Qingyang opened his mouth, he Wudi, whose ears were buzzing, rushed over. After training in the sect of all times for so long, he rarely had the chance to fight. Today he had to have a good fight. Shua! Shua! Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma followed closely behind, taking out their cold ray swords. When the patriarch of the evil black dragon sect and the 4 elders saw the 3 martial practitioners flying out from the dark, their eyes immediately filled with intense killing intent. There was no one else in the forest, so they must have been the ones who attacked the sect protecting formation. Kill him, the patriarch of the evil black dragon sect said coldly. Hoo. At this moment, he Wudi had already rushed in front of him. His right fist suddenly pierced through the void, as he performed the landslide fist. This speed, this power. Even Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma were stunned. Not good. The patriarch of the evil black dragon sect's expression changed greatly. He subconsciously condensed a wall of air in front of him, but it was too late. He only saw the iron fist penetrate the condensed spiritual energy, and directly hit his face. Fast, ruthless, accurate. Bang! The patriarch of the evil black dragon sect flew backward like a cannonball, smashing through rocks and trees in succession, before finally falling on the stairs in front of the sect gate. Die! At this moment, an elder circled around like a ghost. He condensed a pitch-black attribute in his hand, and stabbed at him in the shape of a cone. Shua! He Wudi suddenly turned around, and threw a punch. The back of his hand collided with the tip of the black cone, and tyrannically shattered it. What? The elder's face turned pale with fright. The evil martial technique he condensed was focused on sharpness, but this guy shattered it with just his fist. How hard was he? Bang! At this moment, he Wudi's fist, which had never failed before, smashed heavily on his chest. The explosive force of millions of kilograms sent him flying hundreds of meters away. He sent 2 martial kings flying with 2 moves. Powerful. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma's mouths twitched. They didn't expect this last disciple's strength to be so explosive. He was not inferior to junior brother Yi at all. Bang! After correcting himself, the 2nd Battalion Commander Xiao Ziji fired the field cannon again. With a loud bang, the cannonball turned into a stream of light and accurately landed in the outer courtyard of the evil Black Dragon Sect. The disciples of the evil Black Dragon Sect, who were ready to kill their way out, saw the stream of light that represented death, and despair appeared in their eyes. At this moment, they realized that they were going to die. Boom! The cannonball landed and exploded on the spot. At this moment, if Zhen Dejun was here, he would definitely feel very comfortable, because what he liked most was to use explosions to express what art was. Whoosh! Whoosh! The explosion's energy rubbed against the air, giving rise to a dazzling light. The darkness in the forest was instantly dispelled. When everything dissipated, there was a huge pit in the ground. Broken limbs were scattered everywhere, and blood mixed with the mud. It was a tragic sight. Without the protection of the sect's grand array, the outer courtyard of the evil Black Dragon Sect was directly razed to the ground. Thousands of disciples died on the spot. As for those who survived, they were paralyzed with fear in the inner courtyard. Just what kind of terrifying power was this to be able to cause such terrifying lethality? No! The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon Sect was so angry that his eyes were about to pop out. The elders' eyes were red. They didn't care how many disciples died. What they cared about was that the symbol of the sect, the main hall, was gone. You destroyed my sect. I won't rest until you're dead. The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon Sect roared angrily. All the bones in his body crackled, and his skin quickly turned black. He frowned slightly. Whoosh! The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon Sect suddenly appeared in front of him. His eyes emitted a gloomy light, and his completely black hand suddenly attacked. It was extremely fast. He was caught off guard and was directly sent flying. Junior brother He, Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma exclaimed. Whoosh! At this time, the 4 elders of the evil Black Dragon Sect also appeared in front of the two. Their skin was all black, and their eyes were shining with gloomy light. They looked like 4 demons from hell. Not good. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma felt that something was wrong. They instantly condensed their spirit armor and armed themselves with a solid armor. Boom! Boom! At this time, the 4 elders condensed their gloomy power and blasted the 2 down like cannonballs. Brush! Brush! Xiao Ziji used cloud walk and flew over. His arms suddenly opened, and a strong spiritual energy burst out and turned into 2 big hands. He firmly caught the 2 senior brothers who were about to fall to the ground. Die! The 4 elders rushed over, and their dark palms seemed to be blessed with armament hockey. They suddenly bombarded the void, and suddenly formed a powerful streamer cannonball. Ta! Xiao Ziji stepped on the ground and stretched out his arms. The thick earth attribute instantly erupted, forming a huge and hard wall in front of him, not only to protect himself, but also to protect Li Qingyang and others. Chapter 681. Boom! 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 The black cannonballs bombarded the earthen wall that Xiao Zui had conjured. Immediately, an extremely gloomy and eerie aura gushed out. The area was filled with terrifying attributes, as if it was hell. Senior brother. Yao Minjing became nervous. She wanted to help, but she could only watch the battle with her fists clenched. Hold it in, hold it in. Senior brother is very strong, he will be fine. Boom! Boom! The black cannonballs were still blasting, and Xiao Ziji, who was behind the earthen wall, became more and more serious. Crack! The sturdy earthen wall couldn't withstand the powerful bombardment, and cracks appeared on it. Then it collapsed with a bang. Xiao Ziji took 2 steps back, and the blood in his body boiled. As a meat shield of the sect of all times, his defense had been broken. Fortunately, the enemy's bombardment had ended, or else he wouldn't have been able to protect himself and Li Qingyang and the others. Whoosh! He jumped out of the pit and said, "Is this an amplification ability?" The patriarch and the 4 elders of the evil Black Dragon Sect had turned black, and they were obviously much stronger than before. They were at least rank 8 or 9 martial kings. As a rank 4 martial king, it would be difficult for him to fight against them. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his chest. He quickly looked down and saw that his clothes had rotted, and his exposed skin was dark. He said, "Demonic aura has entered my body." Whoosh! As soon as he said that, an extremely sinister aura spread in his body like a virus, crazily corroding his meridians, causing his expression to become ferocious. Damn it! He forcefully suppressed the demonic aura in his body with his spiritual energy, and said hatefully, "I was careless." Whoosh! Whoosh! Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma stabilized their bodies. Although they had condensed their spiritual armors in advance, the armor on their bodies had a black palm print, and the demonic aura had a strong penetrating power. It instantly drilled into their bodies. "Not good," Li Qingyang said in shock. "They are poisoned." Shwa! With a wave of his hand, Su Xiaomo retrieved an antidote from his interspatial ring and swallowed it. However, the effects of the pill were unable to dissolve the demonic aura that was spreading through his body. He could only use his spiritual energy to forcefully suppress it. Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma collapsed. "The antidote pill is not working," he said with a solemn face. "This is devil qi, not poison. It can't be neutralized with antidote pills." "Then what should we do?" Su Xiaoma asked. He said, "You can only suppress it with spiritual energy and force it out of your body." Su Xiaoma's face turned ugly. The demonic qi in his body was so powerful that he could only suppress it temporarily. How could he force it out of his body? "Sorry to trouble you." Li Qingyang furrowed his brows. At first, when he saw the higher-ups of the evil Black Dragon sect rushing out, he thought that the 6-star mission would be easy to complete. Now that they had used some kind of martial arts to increase their cultivation, and he was disturbed by the demonic qi, it would be difficult to complete the mission. As the second disciple of the most stable sect of all times, Li Qingyang did not lose his composure. He said telepathically, "While we can still suppress the demonic qi, let's retreat." At this moment, he had to divide his spiritual energy to suppress the demonic qi, so he could not fight anymore. Leaving was the wisest choice. "You guys go." Xiao Ziji stood in front of the three and said, "I'll cover you." He was not affected by the demonic qi, so he could still fight. As a qualified meat shield, it was his duty to cover the retreat of his fellow disciples. Li Qingyang said, "Let's go." With the current situation, they could not afford to be indecisive. They had to retreat as soon as possible. Once they were surrounded, they would not be able to escape. "Today all of you will die." The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect and the 4 elders attacked from different directions. The surrounding trees and flowers were corroded and withered, losing all signs of life. Not only did their strength increase, but their strange aura was also very strong. With Li Qingyang and the others' current state, they would be courting death if they tried to fight them. Boom! Boom! The 5 evil Black Dragon sect experts struck the air with their hands. The demonic qi turned into huge fists and smashed down on the group. Wang! Xiao Ziji materialized armor around his body. The black iron shield was also placed in front of him. Wang! A defensive barrier appeared in the air in the shape of an arc. It was the perfect combination of rich spiritual energy, earth element, and various equipment. It could be said that Xiao Ziji's current defense was the strongest. Every one of the sinister energies was not inferior to a rank 9 martial king. The patriarch had even reached the peak. This battle, to Xiao Ziji, it was definitely a test. And he had to block it no matter what, because his fellow disciples were behind him. Huff huff boom. 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 All kinds of violent energies smashed onto the barrier, creating ripples that spread wildly in all directions. Everywhere they passed, the living things with signs of life withered rapidly. Whoosh. Whoosh. While Xiao Ziji was resisting the attacks of the 5 evil Black Dragon sect experts, Li Qingyang and Su Xiaomo retreated. However, with every step they took, the demonic qi in their bodies would fiercely attack their defenses, making them more and more powerless. PFFF. Su Xiaoma couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Junior sister. Li Qingyang was still able to stabilize the demonic qi. He landed in front of Yao Minjing and said with an ugly expression, "Let's go." Second senior brother. Yao Menjing said. Are we going to abandon senior brother Xiao? It's too late. Li Qingyang didn't bother to explain. He put one hand on his junior sister's shoulder and was about to take her away. Huff huff, however. Just as he touched Yao Menjing, the demonic qi in his body suddenly erupted and broke through all defenses like a hot knife through butter. Pfff. Li Qingyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He thought to himself, it's over. In the next second his eyes widened. Because the demonic qi that broke through his defenses didn't attack his meridians, but rushed out along his arm. That arm happened to be connected to Yao Menjing. Not good. Demonic qi is contagious. Li Qingyang's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly wanted to let go, but the palm that was in contact with his junior sister seemed to be stuck and couldn't be separated at all. Li Qingyang, why are you so stupid to touch Yao Menjing with demonic qi? At that moment, Li Qingyang was full of self-blame. He decisively took out the cold light sword and slashed at his arm, trying to stop the demonic qi from disturbing his junior sister. Pa! Yao Menjing raised her hand and stopped her senior brother. Swoosh! Demonic qi surged into her body like surging water. Junior sister! Li Qingyang closed his mouth as soon as he opened his mouth, because after the demonic qi entered Yao Menjing's body, the corner of her mouth raised into a smile. She's smiling? Junior sister is actually smiling. Swoosh! At this moment, all the demonic qi in his body was guided out, and the pain suddenly weakened a lot. Swish! Yao Menjing shook off Li Qingyang with one hand, and the latter suddenly hit a stone. Swish! The little girl rushed to He Wudi and Su Xiaoma, who landed in front of her. Her two small hands directly clasped their shoulders. Huff huff! The demonic qi of the two senior brothers was immediately guided and integrated into her body. After the two violent demonic qi entered, not only did it not cause any damage, but it was like a docile kitten, integrated into her dantian, and was gradually absorbed. So comfortable. Yao Menjing's eyes suddenly lit up, and the smile on her face became wider. Chapter 682. This? Li Qingyang and the others were dumbfounded. Demonic qi was extremely destructive to the body, but little junior sister had absorbed it all. Not only was she fine, but she was also smiling happily. This was unbelievable. Wait a minute. Everyone instantly realized that Yao Menjing had awakened the connate demonic body. It seemed normal that the demonic qi, which was extremely penetrative, could not harm little junior sister. I forgot. Li Qingyang slapped his forehead. The situation had been too chaotic just now, so he had forgotten about it. However, Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma did not know that not only could Yao Menjing ignore the demonic qi, she could also absorb it and turn it into energy. This was undoubtedly very satisfying. It was no wonder that the little girl was smiling so brightly after absorbing it. Boom! Boom! At that moment, another series of explosions rang out in the distance. Xiao Zuiji, who had opened up all his defenses, had to withstand the attacks of 5 martial kings, who were close to the peak of the martial king realm. Crack, crack, crack. After taking another round of attacks, cracks began to appear on the materialized defensive barrier. Boom, boom. The attacks continued, and the gloomy aura became even more intense. Bang! The defensive barrier completely shattered into nothingness. It was not that he was not strong enough, but that the attacks of the 5 evil sect experts contained demonic qi that could corrode his defenses. Thump, thump, thump. Xiao Zuiji spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. He did not have time to care about his injuries. When he looked back, he saw that Li Qingyang and the others were still in a daze. He shouted, I can't hold on any longer. Why haven't you left yet? Senior brother, don't panic. Suddenly a voice came from the side. Leave them to me. Xiao Ziji was stunned and turned his head stiffly. Little junior sister was already standing in front of him. Her hands were clawed, and a strange gloomy aura spread out. Her eyes were shining with intense killing intent. This, Xiao Ziji could not help but shudder. In his opinion, his little junior sister had lost her usual naivety and cuteness, as if she had turned into a little devil from hell. The patriarch and 4 elders of the evil Black Dragon sect were shocked when they saw the little girl appear out of nowhere, especially when they sensed the devil chi that was even purer than their own. Demonic cultivator. She was a demonic cultivator. Yao Minjing clenched her fists and said with a cold face, "You hurt my senior brother. Today all of you will die." Huff huff. Demonic chi whizzed out from behind him and turned into a huge net that pressed down on the 5 heretical experts. Genuine devil chi. The evil Black Dragon sect's martial artists simply couldn't compare. Retreat. The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect exclaimed. However, the demonic chi net had already rushed over. It covered an extremely wide area and quickly surrounded them. At the same time, a strong suction force burst out, causing the demonic chi in their bodies to be pulled madly. It's over, it's over. The eyes of the patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect were filled with despair. At this time, one of the elders was enveloped by the demonic aura, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream of pain. That scream was as though he was in hell. Crack, crack. The sound of bones shattering could be heard as pieces of flesh were crushed by the demonic chi. The mouths of Li Qingyang and the others twitched. The sinister aura that spread out was like a meat grinder. Swoosh, swoosh. An elder was dismembered. The demonic chi in his body was completely absorbed by Yao Minjing, and the sinister glint in her eyes intensified. Huff huff. The demonic chi was still shrinking and pressing over. No. The remaining 3 elders were trapped together and could not escape at all. In the end, they were devoured by the demonic chi, and their energy was absorbed by Yao Minjing. Huff huff. The wind howled and her black hair was blown up. Yao Minjing's slightly tender face was replaced by a sinister one. Li Qingyang and the others felt their hairs stand on end. It was especially so for Xiao Ziji. He was the closest to Yao Minjing and could sense the violent demonic chi. Instantly, he had a feeling that his junior sister before him seemed to have changed into a different person. She was no longer human. She was more like a demon. Li Qingyang and the others saw with their own eyes that the 4 heretical experts were killed by Yao Minjing with just the aura she released. To be honest, in their state at that time, they might not have been able to defeat her alone. This was the innate demonic body. This was a demonic cultivator. Terrifying. Truly terrifying. No wonder the righteous sects would issue a demon-slaying order 10,000 years ago. Huff huff. The sinister demonic chi was still pressing over, pressing down on the terrified patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect. Perhaps it was because his mind was greatly stimulated, but he saw the demonic chi behind Yao Minjing gradually turn into a huge black shadow with an aura that could not be disobeyed. Whoosh! The black shadow suddenly opened its eyes, which flashed with red light, as if a demon king sleeping in the darkness had suddenly awakened. The supreme aura it released suppressed the patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect so much that he almost stopped breathing. Plop! His legs went soft and he knelt down, begging with a trembling voice, I'm willing to be a servant. Please spare my life. You hurt my senior brother." Yao Minjing's black hair fluttered, as if she had entered a berserk state. "You must die." Huff huff. The demonic chi rushed over from all directions and directly enveloped the patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect. Before his death, the sinister power seemed to come from hell. "You are not qualified to be this emperor's servant." The demonic chi pressed over, producing a strong crushing force. The patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect screamed miserably in the forest. Kacha kacha. Whoosh, whoosh. After killing the patriarch of the evil Black Dragon sect, spiritual energy flowed into Yao Minjing's body. At the same time, the demonic chi that pervaded the mountain began to frantically withdraw, and soon disappeared. Sigh. Yao Minjing shook her head and said, "Their attributes are too weak." The corner of Xiao Ziji's mouth twitched. She killed 5 martial kings, just by spreading her attributes. Little junior sister was too terrifying. "Let's go." Li Qingyang flew over and said in a deep voice, "Eliminate the evil Black Dragon sect as soon as possible. Leave no one alive." Little junior sister's demonic chi eruption was very serious. Whoosh, whoosh. Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma. and he woody hurriedly flew to the ruined sect. With the patriarch and the elder dead, the remaining thousands of disciples had no strength to fight, and were quickly slaughtered. While cleaning up the battlefield, Su Xiaoma found a huge dark room. Inside there were countless corpses that had been drained of blood. There were young people, old people, and young children. They must be the missing villagers of the village, Li Qingyang said. Damn it! Su Xiaoma clenched his fists and said angrily. They won't even let the children go. What a bunch of bastards. Huff huff, scorching flames rose. Not only did it burn the entire evil black dragon sect, but it also burned the sins they had committed when they were alive. Yao Menjing's demonic qi eruption was not known to outsiders, because those who knew were all dead. Are you sure? Jun Changshao asked in the main hall. Li Qingyang said. As long as all the disciples of the evil black dragon sect are killed, no one will know. That's good. Jun Changshao was not worried about his second disciple. Indeed, Yao Menjing's demonic qi was not known to outsiders. But the evil black dragon sect's destruction could not be hidden. In just a few days, the news spread throughout the southern barren state, and all the major sects rushed to the scene. Who did it? How could a fifth-rate evil sect be destroyed just like that? This is unbelievable. All the experts stared with wide eyes as they watched their sects turn into ashes under the great fire. At the area where Yao Menjing and the 5 evil sect experts fought, a monk in his early 20s stood. He emitted a strong sandalwood fragrance. Whoosh! He picked up a rotten leaf and placed it in his palm. Immediately, it shone with golden light. Hiss hiss hiss, the leaf gradually trembled, and then a black aura rose. Clap! The monk clenched his fist and said firmly, a demonic cultivator must have been here. Wang! He waved his hand, and the Buddhist beads in his hand flew up and hovered in the air. Golden light poured out and covered the area that was corroded by demonic qi. Hiss hiss, the withered plants were covered by the holy light. Strands of black aura flew out and were purified. Amitba. The monk put his palms together and said, this demonic cultivator's demonic qi is very strong. I must find him and convert him to prevent him from continuing to harm the world. Chapter 683. The handsome monk walked out of the forest where the Black Dragon evil sect was located. He didn't tell the sects of the southern barren state about the appearance of the demonic cultivator, because he had to do it himself. Swoosh! A fluffy white kitten scurried over and landed on his shoulder. It asked, where are we going? It could speak human language? Could it be a spirit beast comparable to a martial king? Not really. The little guy's strength was only at the low level. It could speak human language because it had this ability. Speaking human language meant that it was at least a spirit beast, but mutated beasts could gain intelligence in advance. The psychic cat was one of them. This kind of pet-like little guy wasn't very strong. It could even be described as a weakling, but it could communicate normally with humans not long after it was born. The heavens gave it a cute appearance and the right to speak, but they also took away its combat power. Of course, the psychic cat's greatest advantage was its extremely developed sense of smell. The little guy standing on the monk's shoulder sniffed lightly and said in surprise, you have demonic energy on you. Could it be that a demonic cultivator appeared in the forest? The nose was a true spirit. You didn't smell demonic energy outside? The monk asked. No. The psychic cat said. Maybe it didn't come from here. The monk led it around the forest, but there was still no result. Strange. The psychic cat was puzzled. There's demonic energy, but why aren't there any clues nearby? Could it be that that guy flew away? The monk said. The other party's demonic energy is very strong. His strength might have reached the Emperor realm. TSK. The psychic cat said. A demonic cultivator of this level isn't something you can deal with. Why bother looking for him? Because. The monk's eyes were firm. This is my responsibility. All right. The psychic cat scratched its face and said. You are a qualified Buddhist cultivator, but you are too obsessed with sacrificing yourself to save others. Sooner or later, you will die in the hands of a demonic cultivator. Amitba. The monk put his palms together. If I don't enter hell, who will? The psychic cat said. What should we do next? Search. Where should we search? Falling Star Continent. When your hair reaches your waist, you might not be able to find it. The monk didn't say anything and walked forward. That guy is wearing a kasaya. Could he be a Buddhist martial cultivator? 10,000 years ago, in the war between the righteous and demonic paths, the Buddhist sects lost a large number of peak experts. Later on they gradually declined. I didn't expect that someone would take this path. Strange, why does that guy have hair? Shouldn't he have shaved his head? Could it be a fake? The monk stopped and turned to roar at the warriors in the distance. This penniless monk cultivates with hair. Cultivating with hair. Cultivate with hair. Huff huff. His voice contained some kind of power that resonated with space, instantly forming an extremely strong penetrating force that shook the blood and chi of the cultivators several thousand feet away. A middle-aged man exclaimed, "Lion's roar technique!" Amipa. The monk controlled his emotions and said apologetically, "This poor monk was rude." Shwa. He waved his sleeves and left. Night fell. The monk sat cross-legged in the cave, holding Buddhist beads in his hand as he silently chanted scriptures. 10,000 years ago, after the demon-slaying order was issued, the Buddhist martial cultivators took the lead. After that battle, although the demon emperor was destroyed, the vitality of the Buddhist powerhouses was greatly damaged, and there was a serious gap. Until today, there were very few Buddhist cultivators. It was rare and commendable for this person to be a Buddhist cultivator. Aha! The spiritual cat lay beside him and yawned. It had known this monk for a long time. Every day, he would chant scriptures before sleeping. It had long been used to it. The monk's dharma name was Du Nan. According to him, it was given by an old monk. It meant to help all living beings survive the calamity. Du Nan did not belong to any sect. He was an itinerant cultivator. After he became a Buddhist cultivator, what he had to do every day was to cultivate Buddhist dharma and to purify evil spirits and heretics. He wanted them to return to the right path and no longer harm the world. The spiritual cat followed Du Nan. It could be said that it did not know the next meal. Its life was very miserable. However, their relationship was cultivated. Therefore, it would not leave him. They relied on each other for survival and did not have a fixed place to stay. After chanting the scriptures, Du Nan opened his eyes and said, "I heard that there are many evil sects in Huayang County. Tomorrow, we will go to Yangzhou in the southwest." Not only did he have to deal with evil cultivators, but he also had to deal with evil cultivators. In the past few years, there had been countless evil cultivators who had fallen in the hands of this Buddhist cultivator. Of course, if he offended too many people, he would definitely be hunted down by them. Therefore, Du Nan did not appear in the southern desolate state to travel. He was here to seek refuge. "All right," the spiritual cat said. "I hope there are no experts in Huayang County. Otherwise, we will have to run away again." "It's okay," Du Nan said. "Huayang County is only a grade 8 county. The evil cultivators there will definitely not be too strong." "I hope so." The spiritual cat said so, but it muttered in its heart. Last time, he said that Soaring Cloud County's level was very low. In the end, he was chased by experts for half a month and almost went to the land of bliss to meet Buddha. The next day, the weather was sunny. Du Nan brought the spiritual cat along the mountain road and walked all the way to Huayang County in Yangzhou in the southwest. Sect of all times. Jun Changshao flipped through the yellowed ancient books that Li Qingyang had collected from the Black Dragon Evil Sect's treasury. Among them, there was a secret manual called the Bloodthirsty Technique. "What do you think?" Jun Changshao threw the book to Evil Saint Wuju. After browsing for a while, he said, "This should be a demonic technique. It's really intolerable to absorb other people's essence and blood to cultivate. If the demonic cultivators in the past were so extreme, it's natural that they would be destroyed." Jun Changshao said. Evil Saint Wuju shook his head and said, "This is only a very small number. As far as I know, although the demon emperor cultivated demonic techniques, he was a straightforward person." "Is that so?" Jun Changshao was very surprised that a demonic cultivator was so straightforward. He took back the bloodthirsty technique. He did not plan to let the disciples cultivate it in the technique pavilion. After all, it was too cruel to absorb other people's essence and blood to cultivate. He continued to flip through the other ancient books. Most of them recorded things that happened thousands of years ago. Jun Changshao read very carefully, hoping to find the remaining demonic cultivators that were separated from the Demon Emperor sect. Recently, the mysterious masked cultivator did not appear, but he certainly would not forget. As long as he found clues and determined the location, he would definitely retaliate. Waiting for others to find trouble was not Jun Changxiao's style. As long as there was a chance, he would take the initiative. Perhaps this heretical sect that practiced the devil cultivation method would have records of it. He really found it. In a handwritten record from the first patriarch of the Black Dragon Evil sect, it was written, "Thousands of years ago, I found a cave at the Black Cliff and obtained the bloodthirsty technique. This may be related to the demonic cultivators that were separated from the Demon Emperor sect." Although there were only a few paragraphs, it was the only clue about the demonic cultivators that he had collected during this period of time. Jun Changshao said, "Do you know the Black Cliff?" "Black Cliff?" Evil Saint Wu Ju said solemnly. "This is the second battlefield where the righteous and demonic cultivators fought 10,000 years ago. Now it has been sealed and become one of the forbidden areas of the Falling Star continent." "You can't enter?" Jun Changshao asked. Evil Saint Wu Ju said, "You can enter, but the demonic qi left inside is too strong. It is easy to go mad." "Where is it?" Jun Changshao asked. Evil Saint Wu Ju was silent for a moment and said, "In the central region." Chapter 684. The middle state was located in the Falling Star continent, and it was also the strongest state. Its heaven and earth attributes were extremely strong, and it had nurtured countless experts and geniuses. Martial artists from other states who had reached the level of martial king might already be considered quite powerful, but they would become very ordinary in the middle state. Of course, it was impossible for martial kings to be everywhere, and Wu Huang to be as common as dogs. At least in terms of overall strength, the middle state was far ahead of the other states. The Black Cliff mentioned in the ancient books was in the middle state, and it was also the second battlefield where the righteous and demonic sects fought 10,000 years ago. What about the first battlefield? Naturally, it was where the Demon Emperor sect was located. After the Falling Star continent was separated, the middle state had always been the center of the world. The Demon Emperor chose this place as the second battlefield to engage in an intense battle with many top sects, which was also very powerful. Awesome! After Jun Changshao learned about it, he was in awe. This kind of person who dared to lead people to fight against various sects in the strongest state is a role model for my generation to learn from. System. Who the fuck would learn to become enemies with the entire continent? According to the notes left behind by the first patriarch of the Black Dragon Evil sect, the bloodthirsty technique was related to the remnants of the demonic sections. Jun Changshao had plans to go to the Black Cliff, but not now. Because the Dragon-Tiger battle for hegemony was about to begin, he needed to focus on it. Not to mention, this world-famous sect competition just happened to be held in the middle state. When the time came, he could go and take a look after it ended. After having a plan, Jun Patriarch suppressed the urge to run to other states to court death. "Patriarch," Li Qingyang said, "Elder Zhou is here to see you. Invite him in." Jun Changshao said, "The certification center sent someone over at this time. It should be related to the Dragon-Tiger battle for hegemony." As expected, Elder Zhou entered the main hall, and as soon as he sat down, he went back to the topic. "Jun Patriarch, the Dragon-Tiger battle for hegemony is approaching. Is your sect ready?" "Ready," Jun Changshao said. Elder Zhou said, "Hall Master asked me to ask when are you ready to set off?" "About half a month ago," Jun Changshao said. He wouldn't go there too early. After all, he still needed to let his disciple use the remaining few months to increase his cultivation as quickly as possible, so that he could take first place in the Dragon-Tiger battle for supremacy. The various forces that participated in the sect grand competition only wanted to achieve good results. This guy, on the other hand, was going straight for the championship. What Jun Changxiao meant was that since the Sect of all times was participating, they had to aim for first place. Otherwise, they would be no different from a salted fish author. Elder Zhou said, "There are many sects participating in the Dragon Tiger battle for supremacy this time. The Hall Master hopes that Jun Patriarch can bring his disciples there first to avoid missing the opportunity." Jun Changxiao was speechless. Was Master Yi worried that he would stand him up? "How about this?" Jun Changxiao said, "I will bring my disciples there a month in advance." "That's good too." Elder Zhou cupped his hands and said, "This Zhou will take his leave first." "Elder Zhou, you've come a long way. Why don't you stay for a meal before leaving?" "Sure." Jun Changxiao was stunned. "I was just casually saying it. You're being too rude." After the meal, Elder Zhou took his leave. Jun Changxiao sat in the main hall and started to plan his next step. He only participated in the Dragon Tiger battle for supremacy because of Master Yi. After this, he still had to consider the future development of the sect. The intelligence agency still needs to be developed. The construction of the branch had just started, and there was still a long way to go. A few days later, Sect of all times branches and beast material stores were everywhere in the northern desert state. The busiest place was Yellow Sand City, because Jun Changxiao personally went to the northern desert state to participate in the opening ceremony. The Patriarch of the Azure Sand Sect and the Sect Master of the Wind Riding Sect came with congratulatory gifts. They're all big shots. The Sect of all times is really powerful. Many cultivators were in a heated discussion. Everyone realized that the once nameless force had now become a huge evil. With the opening of the branch and the beast materials store, the business between the Sect of all times and the northern desert state was completely established. According to the cooperation agreement, the top 10 sects would ship various types of ores to the Azure Sun County at a fixed time every month. On the other side, the AI family was also expanding their business. Their main business was medicinal herbs, and they would also provide Jun Changxiao with more medicinal herbs and seeds. Ores could be used to refine equipment, and medicinal herbs could be used to refine pills. These two were definitely important factors for the Sect of all times to become stronger. Of course, because the demand was high, the cost was also high. The beast material store could only support them for a short period of time. As the number of disciples increased, the demand would also increase, and they would definitely not be able to maintain sustainable development. "We still have to develop a side business," Jun Changxiao said. The system said, "As long as the host is willing to take out higher-grade pills for the AI family to sell, will they still lack money?" Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, "The AI family is still too weak. If we give them higher-grade pills to sell, they might even be killed. We have to find..." He paused for a bit, then said, "We also have to find a stronger business partner." The system said, "From what we can see, the strongest business in the Starfall continent is the Tang family. I've heard of them." Jun Changxiao was no longer a newbie, and he had a certain understanding of the continent. The Tang family, a family that had been doing business for generations, and was extremely wealthy. The Spirit Stone store in the Azure Sun County was opened by the Tang family. This family mainly dealt in spirit stones, but they also had a hand in other businesses. It was a well-developed business empire. Jun Changxiao wanted to find a business partner, and the Tang family was undoubtedly the most suitable. Someone asked, why didn't he do it himself? Managing a sect was already tiring enough. If he had to develop a side business, he wouldn't have time to flirt in the future. Finding a powerful business family, using their brand and perfect channels, would no doubt make him rich faster. Unfortunately, Jun Changxiao said, if I don't know anyone from the Tang family, how can I contact them? If there's a problem, find Li Luoqiu. The Tang family? Hall Masterly held her chin and said, a while ago, there seemed to be information about this family. I ordered people to investigate. Jun Changxiao said. Li Luoqiu ordered the members to flip through the files. Soon, they found the information about the Tang family that had been sent a while ago. Drizzle Hall sent a large amount of information every day. Unless it was extremely important, she wouldn't report it because it was too time-consuming. Patriarch Li Luoqiu said, according to the information, the second young master of the Tang family will come to southwest Yangzhou to inspect the work in the middle of this month. Middle of the month? Jun Changshao said in surprise. Isn't he almost here? Li Luoqiu said. He should be on his way. Do you have any specific information about the second young master? Jun Changshao asked. Li Luoqiu shook her head and said, our Drizzle Hall hasn't developed our information network to Zhongzuan State, so we don't know for now. The AI family should know. Jun Changshao arranged the affairs of the sect and personally went to Huyang City. The second young master of the Tang family? In the medicine shop. AI Shang Yao shook his head and said, I've heard of this person. He's quite accomplished in business and is highly valued by the head of the Tang family. It's said that he intends to make him one of the successors of the family. One of the successors? Jun Changshao asked. There are many successors. The head of the AI family said, the Tang family has many branches and leaves, and there are many second and third generation descendants. As far as I know, there are more than 10 future successors. More than 10, Jun Changshao muttered. If the head of the Tang family suddenly dies, wouldn't these successors fight for the position of the head of the family? AI Shang Yao's mouth twitched. My dear Sovereign Jun, you really dare to say anything, ah? Chapter 685. Jun Changshao and AI Shangyao chatted for a while before returning to the sect. He ordered Li Luoqiu to focus on the coming second son of the Tang family. It was confirmed. He would do business with the Tang family. Since the second son was good at business, it would be good to work with him. Of course, this kind of business family would be proud and arrogant. It would be difficult to move them without something good. What should I sell? Jun Changshao began to think. In terms of elixirs, he could sell the low-grade energy gathering pill. After all, the herbs needed were not many. It could be mass-produced. Mid-grade healing elixirs and detoxification elixirs are supplementary items. They won't improve martial arts, but they can also be sold. Jun Patriarch would not sell all the elixirs on a whim, especially the mid-grade energy gathering pill, body shaping pill, and soul shaping pill. The low-grade cold edge sword will also do. When the northern desert state sent large amounts of ore to the sect to make more high-grade weapons, the cold edge sword would definitely be an obsolete item. It would be appropriate to sell it. Jun Patriarch was confident that this kind of weapon made by the system would be favored by many warriors once it went on the market. It was decided. He was prepared to use the low-grade energy gathering pill, mid-grade healing elixirs, detoxification elixirs, and the low-grade cold edge sword as bargaining chips. Jun Changshao said, with the Tang family's brand and channels, once these 4 items enter the market, I will be sitting on the bed counting money until my hands cramp. Patriarch Li Luoqiu walked in and said, I just received news that the second son of the Tang family is coming from the West Cloud State. He is expected to arrive at the Heavenly Mandate Imperial City in 2 days. Should we go and greet him first? Jun Changshao touched his chin. The system was speechless. This guy is looking for trouble again. Yes, Jun Changshao was starting to be cheap. Instead of taking the initiative to get to know the second son of the Tang family, it was better to create a beautiful encounter. For example, let a disciple pretend to be a robber to sneak in and appear at the critical moment to create a mighty and chivalrous patriarch of the sect of all times. At the brink of death, a benefactor came to the rescue. The second son of the Tang family would hug his thigh and be grateful. Pa. Jun Changshao covered his face and laughed strangely. Ha ha ha, I'm really a genius. The system was speechless. This is not a talent. This is a super slut. In fact, Jun Changshao could not be blamed. He had done so out of many considerations. It was unknown what kind of person the Tang's second young master was. But he could use this robbery to probe him. Finding people to do business, robbing them to test the waters. Jun Patriarch, you're such a dog. If the pitiful second young master of the Tang clan knew of this, he would definitely say, "There's a sentence about selling your mother, but I don't know if I should say it or not." Schwa. Schwa. On both sides of the West Cloud State's official road, dozens of black-clothed masked martial artists flew over and hid in the dark. "Second senior brother." Su Xiaoma transmitted his voice. "Is there a big operation?" The patriarch suddenly gathered everyone, put on black clothes, and then hurried to the West Cloud province, making him think that he was going to do something big. "It could very well be an exciting assassination," Li Qingyang said. "I'm not too sure either." Li Fei said excitedly, "I've been cultivating all this time. It's time for actual combat." "Listen carefully." Jun Changshao, who was hiding in the dark, transmitted his voice to the group. "There will be a few luxurious carriages passing by later. Your mission is to pretend to be robbers and stop them." As soon as this was said, Li Qingyang and the others were dumbfounded. Pretend to be robbers? Patriarch. Su Xiaoma was speechless. "Are you serious or joking?" "I'm serious." Wearing black clothes and covering their faces, thinking that they were going to carry out an assassination. But in the end, they were going to be robbers. This was too embarrassing. Sigh. Since they had boarded the Patriarch's pirate ship, they could only be thieves. On the West Cloud State's official road, there would occasionally be martial artists or merchants passing by, but no one noticed the Sect of All Time's disciples. Why aren't they here yet? After waiting for a long time, they still did not see the target appear. Jun Changshao could not help but criticize. Could the information be wrong? Or did second young Master Tang change his route? At this moment, several luxurious carriages galloped over within the range of dozens of miles released by his spiritual senses. The horse in charge of pulling the carriages stepped on a whirlwind, looking very handsome. It was the 1,000-mile Windchaser horse. Shi Jingxian had specially bought it when she went to the southern desolate state, but she did not use it, and was taken away by Jun Patriarch. The 4 carriages galloping over hung flags with the word Tang engraved on them. "They're here, they're here," Jun Changshao hurriedly ordered. "Be sure to stop the 4 carriages." Yes, the disciples received the order. However, it was their first time doing a robbery, and they had to pretend. It was inevitable that they were a little unfamiliar and nervous. Thud, 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 thud. Not long after, the 4 luxurious carriages arrived at the ambush circle. "It's the Tang family's carriages." When the passers-by saw the large word engraved on the flag, their expressions changed drastically, and they subconsciously moved to the sides. Although the Tang family mainly did business, they had a very wide network and had hired many experts. Their strength was not inferior to a first-rate or second-rate sect at all. Jun Patriarch had decided to do business with the Tang family because of this. Because the things he sold were a little amazing. Only such a big family could hold on. Thud, thud, thud. More than a dozen 1,000-mile Windchaser horses galloped along the official road. An old man with sharp eyes sat in the carriage leading the way. He immediately frowned, because there was a masked man in black standing on the official road, blocking the only way. "Something's wrong," he shouted in a deep voice. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several experts with high cultivation walked out of the carriages behind and locked their eyes on the man in black. As experienced people, they instantly determined that someone was blocking the road to rob them. "How dare you block the Tang family's carriage?" The old man at the front shouted coldly. "You're courting death." Huff huff, he leaped and stopped in midair. His martial king aura completely erupted. In an instant, a large hand was formed and pressed toward the man in black. Thud. Xiao Ziji took a step forward and suddenly waved his right fist. Buzz buzz buzz. Layers upon layers of earth elemental energy emanated from his body and materialized into a fist. Bang! The fist print was extremely powerful and directly broke the palm print. The old man who used the move was directly sent flying and staggered on the official road. His eyes were filled with shock. The earth element had always been focused on defense. That man in black was able to explode with such a powerful attack. His physical body must be extraordinary. Hiss hiss hiss. At this moment, the sound of horses was heard. Dozens of thousand-mile windchaser horses were entangled by vines and could not move at all. Whoosh! Whoosh! Li Qingyang and the others rushed out. Although it was an act, they still had to show off. Therefore, they released their killing intent and instantly enveloped the official road. The four martial kings of the Tang family naturally would not sit still and wait for death. They all rushed out. Boom! Boom! The disciples of the sect of all times instantly fought with them. In terms of strength, the martial kings of the Tang family were not bad, but Li Qingyang and the others were not bad either. Moreover, they had the advantage in numbers, so they were quickly beaten to the ground. Hee hee. Su Xiaoma laughed strangely and said, "Second young Master Tang, if you don't want anything to happen to you, please come out." Whoosh! In the middle of the carriage, the curtain was lifted. A handsome young man walked out. He cupped his hands in a cultured and elegant manner and said with a smile, "This humble one is Tang Ren. What can I do for you?" "Nonsense!" Su Xiaoma shouted. "Of course it's robbery." This whoosh! Su Xiaoma did not waste any time. He gathered spiritual energy in his palm and rushed over with the cloud-treading steps. "Young master, be careful!" Several injured martial kings of the Tang family exclaimed. Boom! An explosion was heard. Su Xiaoma, who had rushed over, was suddenly sent flying. He crashed into more than 10 trees, and then fell to the ground, his body twitching. Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others mourned for him for 3 seconds. The few martial kings of the Tang family were dumbfounded. They turned their heads and saw a young man in white standing in front of their young master. He had a smile on his face. Whoosh! Jun Changshao casually waved his sleeves and said, "The universe is clear and bright, yet you dare to rob. Is there still any law and order? This action so handsome. Thank you, Jun Patriarch, for saving us." The Tang family's second young master cupped his hands and said, "Seeing injustice on the road, drawing a sword to help, this is the martial arts world." "Wait." Jun Changshao was startled and said, "You know me?" "More than that." The Tang family's second young master looked at Li Qingyang and said with a smile, "If I'm not wrong, this masked little brother should be your sect's second disciple, right? This little brother is emitting a heavy aura. He should be Xiao Ziji, the one who was sent flying. His footwork is very strong. He should be Su Xiaoma." The Tang family's second young master reported the names of the masked sect of all time's disciples one by one. Jun Changshao's expression was very interesting. He brought his disciple to pretend to be a robber and saved him to build a good relationship. In the end, he was seen through. This was very embarrassing. Chapter 686. Letting his disciple pretend to be a robber, while he made a move at the critical moment, and then establishing a revolutionary friendship with the Tang family's second young master. What a beautiful plot! In order to pursue a more realistic effect, Su Xiaoma was directly sent flying and almost fainted on the spot. However, what was not in the plan was that second young master Tang actually recognized Li Qingyang and the others. From his words, it was not difficult to tell that he had a deep understanding of the sect of all time's disciples. The most painful thing in the world was I'm acting, and he's just watching. At that moment, Jun Changshao, who was standing in front, had a very interesting expression on his face. He wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. This was too fucking embarrassing, too fucking embarrassing. Ahahaha. The system's gloating laughter came. Seeing the super thick-skinned host embarrassed made it feel so happy. It felt like its life had reached the peak. Jun Patriarch, Tang Ren said with a smile. "If I'm not wrong, you brought your disciple here and pretended to be a black-clothed man to test the strength of our Tang family, right?" He had a gentle and elegant smile from beginning to end. Expert. No. Jun Changshao did not follow Tang Ren's excuse. Instead, he turned around and said, "This is a welcome ceremony that I specially prepared for young Master Tang." The basic quality of a shameless person was, no matter the time, no matter the situation, he had to remain calm. "Welcome ceremony," Tang Ren said with a smile. "It's quite original." Of course. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, It's not easy for young Master Tang to come to southwest Yangzhou. I naturally have to welcome you. The Tang family's injured martial kings twitched their mouths, letting his disciple pretend to be a robber, and suddenly making a move to save him. Even a fool could see through this trick. Please stop pretending. Disciples, listen up. Jun Changshao said loudly. Let's warmly welcome young Master Tang. Clap, clap, clap. The disciples quickly gathered and then clapped, shouting, Welcome, welcome, warmly welcome. Although they shouted that, they were embarrassed in their hearts, because they had not trained to be as thick-skinned as Patriarch. Tang Ren smiled and said, This kind of welcoming ceremony has also broadened this Tang's horizons. Young Master Tang, Jun Changshao said seriously, the world has not been peaceful recently. The purpose of my visit this time is not only to welcome you, but also to protect you, so that you can smoothly enter southwest Yangzhou. Just now it was actually a drill. The system, such an awkward situation, was forcefully turned around by him. How thick was his skin? Furthermore, how could the second son of the Tang family, who had been through so much in the business world, be fooled by you? Thank you, Jun Patriarch. Tang Ren cupped his hands. Fuck. Did he really believe it? Young Master Tang, Jun Changshao said, please get on the carriage. I will personally escort you to Yangzhou in the southwest. Thank you for your trouble. Tang Ren got into the carriage. Ta-ta-ta. Dozens of wind chasers for 1,000 miles galloped forward again, while the disciples of the Sect of all times rode on hurricane wolves and followed behind the caravan. On the way, Jun Changshao said to himself, this is a smart person. Tang Ren knew the Sect of all times like the back of his hand, as well as the calmness he displayed. He was completely incomparable to the playboys. Nonsense. The system said. If he was a fool, how could he become one of the heirs of a big family? Jun Changshao said, although it's good to do business with such a person, we have to be careful to prevent him from taking advantage of us. Jun Patriarch. At this moment, Tang Ren's voice sounded in his ear. This Tang came to southwest Yangzhou to inspect the work. The first stop is Qingyang County, where your sect is located. Jun Changshao's expression froze. This guy could actually transmit telepathy. His cultivation must be at the level of a martial king. He was only a few years older than him, and already had such a cultivation. He was indeed a direct descendant of a top family in the Starfall continent. Oh, Jun Changshao said. Young Master Tang, are you not going to the heavenly mandate imperial city first? For a big family like the Tang clan, the headquarters of their branches in each province would definitely be in the imperial city. He was a little surprised that they would go to the remote Qingyang County first. I heard that the AI clan of Qingyang County has been selling special elixirs in recent years. This Tang is very curious, so I want to go and take a look, Tang Ren said. I see. Jun Changshao laughed heartily and said, this seat is very familiar with the way to Qingyang County. Tang Ren said, Jun Patriarch is the deputy governor of Qingyang County, right? Jun Changshao raised his eyebrows and said, young Master Tang even knows about this. It seems that you have collected a lot of information about this seat and the Sect of all times, right? Tang Ren said, Jun Patriarch is leading a big sect at such a young age. This Tang admires you very much, so I usually pay more attention to you. Was this telling him that he had no ill intentions? It was tiring to deal with smart people, because he had to constantly analyze the other party's words and actions. Young Master Tang, Jun Changshao said, Jun is a boorish person and doesn't like to beat around the bush. If you have something to say, why don't you say it directly? System, boorish my ass. You're more cunning than a monkey, you're more despicable than Jianghu. Okay, Tang Ren said straightforwardly. Jun Patriarch brought his disciples to practice a robbery. There should be a purpose, right? Fuck. This seat asked him to say what he wanted to say, but he let me say it first. Sure enough, he has a way. Since that's the case, let's be frank. Jun Changshao didn't want to beat around the bush with smart people. It was very tiring, so he said straightforwardly, this seat brought my disciples to welcome you because I want to talk business with young Master Tang. Oh, what business? It wasn't hard to tell from Tang Ren's tone that he was very interested. Businessman. Who didn't like business? Jun Changxiao said. This seat has some pills and weapons here. I want to borrow young Master Tang's family's channel to sell them. Tang Ren said. Although my Tang family is involved, it can't be compared to other families that mainly focus on this industry. I'm afraid it will be difficult to satisfy Jun Patriarch. That's true. Jun Changxiao said. The Tang family mainly deals in spirit stones. Naturally, they won't be interested in industries like pills and weapons that aren't very profitable. He was right. The profits of spirit stones were extremely large. The Tang family put their focus on this, and the other industries were nothing more than a foil. Tang Ren said with a smile. If Jun Patriarch values my Tang family so much, this Tang is very willing to cooperate with Jun Patriarch. So young Master Tang came to southwest Yangzhou this time not to inspect the work, but to pay a visit to the Sect of all times? Jun Changxiao asked suddenly. With such an understanding of him and the Sect, he didn't think that the other party was just here to inspect the work. Tang Ren said with a smile. The Sect of all times has recently become famous, and has been evaluated as one of the top 3. This Tang has been looking forward to it for a long time. So I used this business trip as an opportunity to pay a visit. Fuck. After all this time, he had worked for nothing. Good karma. This guy was the one who took the initiative to look for you. Thinking about how he pretended to be a robber, and came out to save him, but was directly exposed, Jun Patriarch's entire face instantly turned red. There was no need to explain an awkward life. Jun Patriarch. Tang Ren said. We'll talk about business in detail when we reach your esteemed Sect. Sure, Jun Changxiao said straightforwardly. Since the other party had specially come to visit him, the business should be easy to conclude. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, on the official road that was about to enter southwest Yangzhou, black shadows flew out from the shadows and completely blocked the road. Jun Changxiao frowned. Jun Patriarch. Tang Ren said. These are your esteemed Sect's disciples. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.